Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are from. Welcome to the match you've all been waiting for. A dynasty against a generational team. Once again, a narrative that we are all oh so familiar with. Welcome to the OC World Cup Grand Finals between South Korea and the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sad Shiba, and I could not be more honored to be casting this match with my two favorite Canadians, Dio and iFlame.
Shiba, it truly is an honor. This is where we find out, will the Titans finally be defeated, or will they hold on to their streak for 1 year longer? Dio, how are you feeling about this one?
I'm feeling great. I've been looking forward to Grand Finals for a very long time. This is, as we've said already tonight, one of the most entertaining World Cups we've seen in a very long time. Not in small part because the United States has had a rocky road here to the Grand Finals, getting knocked out by Canada early on in quarterfinals and making their way through the losers bracket. But it seems like a flip had switched in the United States after that quarterfinals matchup against Canada. The most points they dropped to any team after the quarterfinals was 3 points against the Philippines in finals, 7-1 against Germany, 6-2 against Poland, 6-1 against Sweden. This is a team that has blazed their way through the losers bracket like no other. And of course, as of last night, 7-1 against Australia in the losers bracket grand finals. The United States, as a scaling roster, seems to be in form once again, despite the roster changes, despite the question marks around the new roster with 5 substitutes from last year for the United States. It seems they are back in form once again against one of their oldest and toughest rivals in South Korea, who have taken them to tiebreaker and won against them last year in the semifinals in 2022 and have been second for 2 of the last 4 years of the U.S. World Cup.
We're going to be getting into pick bans shortly. We're going to see the United States ban out No Mod 3, No Mod 5. We're going to be seeing South Korea likely ban out the DT3 and that speed free mod, of course, in that free mod 2. Now, South Korea could ban out the DT2 as well if they are less comfortable on that than the DT3, but it is going to be one of those two maps for their second ban. And let's talk about potential picks here. The United States have looked incredible on the free mod so far, and the crux of that is, of course, Rectagon and Taquito. Rectagon put up a number of top scores in the lobby on the Hard Rock, is so good. Whereas on the side of South Korea, it's largely been Worst HR Player and Karcher on the mods. And that's a little bit tough for South Korea because on these free mods, a lot of times you want to have your best players on the no mod, let them put up those big scores. And South Korea doesn't really have that option. They need those 2 key players to be on their mods, and so it's going to give them a bit of a harder time, whereas the United States look a little bit more well-rounded on those free mods. We're going to see South Korea, without a doubt, look towards some of those more aim control, alt focus picks, and there come the bans exactly as expected so far. We're going to wait for that free mod ban to come through for South Korea in a moment, and then we will be off to the races with these picks.
Yeah, I don't think any of these bans are a surprise to anyone watching right now. No Mod 3, No Mod 5 banned out by the United States, and if you've been watching the tournament at all, if you know anything about the rosters, you know that South Korea is one of, if not the best gimmick teams in the tournament. At this point, I think safe to call them the best gimmick team in the tournament, with players like Worst HR Player, FlyingTuna, Amamya Kokoro, even players like Karcher can really put up some solid scores on maps like True DJ Mag Top Ranker and like this No Mod 5 and Amethyst Aurora. These are maps that really challenge the gimmick overall, and this may come as a surprise to some people, but this is one of the maps that I called out as potentially being a ban for South Korea before this match started. DT2, of course, no surprise whatsoever. South Korea definitely not a speed team. They have mechanics players, yes, but it is not something that they're strong at as a roster. And of course, United States with multiple speed specialists on the roster going to typically outclass them on some of the speed maps. Of course, the free mod 2 also speed, but this no mod 2 is 222 BPM tech streams. It is extremely difficult on both the flow wave and the stamina, and a lot of players, especially on the playtesting team, really limited by their stamina on this no mod 2. So I don't think too surprising to see it banned out. I think really they had two choices between that no mod 2 and the free mod 2 here.
South Korea does have the first pick now, and they're going to be looking towards those kind of gimmick picks. You look towards something like the Hidden 2, even potentially something like the No Mod 4. Now, they're going to pick the free mod 3 themselves. That is the other gimmick map in the pool, and about as gimmicky as it gets. This is the one free mod where I do think South Korea is going to have the edge. Worst HR player especially is just so good at these kind of maps. This map was almost built for worst HR player. We're going to see Rectigon undoubtedly in for the Hard Rock because we did see United States in for this yesterday. South Korea knows what score the US has on this map, and so they're feeling confident that they can beat that score from yesterday, and so it's going to be all on the United States to improve here. Amamya Kokoro is going to be on the no mod most likely, and I expect we're going to see Karcher in for the Hard Rock shortly.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be the kind of core three for South Korea in worst HR players, Tuna and Karcher. Karcher may sub out for Allegrisimo if they do have somebody else to take the Hard Rock for this roster, but I think Amamya Kokoro is definitely staying in for this one of the best gimmick players on the side of South Korea. The last time that we saw South Korea versus the United States, South Korea had a bit of a slow go in getting started. It seemed like they really warmed up and got into the groove during the bracket reset last year. So I'm wondering how ready these teams are for this match. Of course, late night for the United States. On the East Coast, it is 11 p.m. On the West Coast, it is 8 p.m. A little bit more comfortable for a lot of the roster there. And of course, in South Korea, starting at 4 UTC, it is 1 p.m. for this roster. And a lot of players not used to playing OS in the early afternoons. We'll see exactly how ready these two teams are for this grand finals going into the first match. And it does seem like we're actually seeing Tuna sub out for Allegrisimo here on the side of South Korea. Would have expected it to be Karcher, but it's going to be Tuna instead. These are the rosters: Amamya Kokoro, Karcher, Allegrisimo, worst HR player for South Korea, Takedo, Boshiman, Rectigon, and Fiery Rage for the United States. The first map of the OS World Cup 2023 Grand Finals begins. South Korea versus United States. It is time for the Grand Finals.
This is it. The moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to get into map number 1. The match that everyone has been so eager to see begins now. South Korea, United States. You know the drill. You know the history of these two teams. And we are starting off with a pick from South Korea on the free mod 3. This is some demon levels of aim requirement here. You can already see it. Extremely difficult, regardless of what really you're running. Hard Rock particularly going to be really difficult, but looking so far, lots and lots of early drops from many players from each respective team. It seems like South Korea taking an early established advantage from Karcher and Allegrisimo, holding on to some great combo there. But overall, it's very even. But with that drop from Allegrisimo, it's going to start slowly closing in for the United States with those built-up combos from Rectigon and Boshiman building up. Boshiman being a core reading and gimmick player for this United States team, really relied to stay comfortable on that no mod. You have to see him perform well on stuff like this. So far, so good though for both teams. Karcher though has gone down. These recoveries from South Korea are a little bit threatening, but Rectigon and Boshiman are keeping the charge ahead. Next HI ramp-up section going past the first half now. Rectigon is still holding on to that big combo with Hard Rock, and it's starting to close away here for South Korea. They can't really get a lead on the table. It's Allegrisimo and Amamya Kokoro to try and do something here, but as long as these combos still remain great for the United States. Hold on though, that's a big drop there. Double miss from the United States. Rectigon and Boshiman both go down. It's just Takedo holding on to a combo with the hidden. Karcher still holding on to a good combo with the Hard Rock. With that drop from Allegrisimo, it could look really dangerous.
Yeah, Amamya Kokoro also dropping now, and so it's worst HR player in Karcher versus this big combo from Takedo on the hidden. Worst HR player goes down, and now it's all Takedo for the United States. The longer he holds, the worse it gets. And this first pick for South Korea looking a lot like the first pick from Australia yesterday. Takedo and Boshiman will finally drop, but it's been a 4-way reset in the last 100 combo for South Korea. There's no way for them to bring this score back at the end of the map, and that is the first pick going to the United States. A break point on South Korea's first pick, and already you see the parallels with the match versus Australia. Australia picking the DT2 yesterday and getting beaten on it by the United States. South Korea this time on the anti-mod free mod. 600k Hard Rock for Rectigon, 585k hidden for Takedo, both better than the best score from Forum on the side of South Korea.
fantastic start for the United States, and what's key there was that 585 key for Takedo. When they played this map yesterday, they had Vaxei in on the no mod rather than Takedo, which meant Bashi had to take the hidden. And now all of a sudden it's Takedo putting up 585k, securing that point for the United States, and they're going to be up 1-0 on a break point. Now they have the pick, and they have a lot of good options. They have the free mod 3 that's quite speed heavy, and they have the DT3 as well. Those are the two speedy maps in the pool that are very tapping intensive, and those are very likely going to be the next two picks in this match. Now there is a chance we do see the US leave one of those for later on, but we're going to get the DT3 right away. We're going to get the United States tried and true speed roster of
for the United States to be in with this kind of a speed roster on their side. Rectagon, Takedo, and Window Life in for this map. No Vaxei yet, notably, for the United States. Hasn't been one of these star players for this roster in the later stages. Had a fantastic performance yesterday against Australia. But stepping out for these first two maps and letting some of the other players in to make good on the rosters that were crafted before the tournament. And here we go into this DT3. Already a couple of early misses for South Korea on Restia right at the start of the map. This one, though, doesn't really get started until you start to get into the later parts of the map. There's a lot of triples, a lot of quints, and a lot of aim requirement in this map, mostly on jumps, not the flow aim. This one, really tough there break for both Restia and Karcher on the Buzz Slider in that section. So 2 full combos to 4 now in favor of the United States going into the first PI time. First 9-note burst catching no one off, and Restia, Amamya Kokoro, and FlyingTuna all dropping in the first PI time. There goes Karcher as well. Kama will drop for the USA, but this is just a slaughter right now in the first PI time. Rectagon finally drops as well, but it's still the full combo for Takedo, and more importantly, a nearly 300,000 score lead, only a third of the way into this map.
Very strong early dominance here from the United States. South Korea completely falling apart towards that first PI. This is some intense levels of raw mechanics, both in the speed, the theme control, and the aim. You've got to be really prepared for this and really kind of poised, really. You have to be very, very quick in this, and if you are not a signature mechanics player like the majority of the roster here from the United States, it's going to be really hard for you to come back and overtake from this. The majority of South Korea here completely falling apart. No drops here. Karcher, the last combo standing for South Korea, is gone, whereas on the side of the United States, we may see a double miss from Karma and Rectagon, but the Takedo and Window Life still looking really good. We're getting to the guitar solo section now. This is one of the hardest parts of the map. The streams get really, really big, much longer. Stamina is going to be a big hit here. Window Life hits the entire long stream there. Takedo may drop, but Window Life hits the entire guitar section, completely destroying this, and he's going to excel his lead further and further as long as he doesn't slip up on this final Ki coming through now. A 4-way miss there for South Korea only digs their grave even deeper on a map like this. USA, despite dropping quite a few combos towards the later stage, including that final drop from Window Life, that early stage dominance is far too oppressive for the United States. No opportunity for a breakpoint here for South Korea. USA not only get the breakpoint on the 3-mod-3, but get an absolutely excellent advantage on this double time 3. Granted, as expected for a team of this caliber, but still, fantastic difference in score here. 770,000 score in favor of the United States. Brilliant first start, 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's nearly double score for the USA on that one. There's not much you can do as South Korea. Maybe we'll see the bans get swapped up and DT3 is banned in the bracket reset if we do get there. But you can see exactly how rough the stamina gets in the back half of that map. Just look at the HP graphs for everyone except Window Life, the only player to hit that long stream section with the consecutive 17 note streams at 285 BPM in that map. It is so rough.
That's a consolidated breakpoint for the United States. So South Korea, at some point in this match, is going to have to find themselves a breakpoint, but we're not likely to see that until later on in the match, as the US does have some tapping left in that free mod too. But South Korea does have the pick. They're going to look to get some momentum back. And they do have quite a few good options left in this pool. There is that heavy reading hidden too. There is that no mod 4, which would be a little risky, but it does seem to be a solid map for South Korea. And there's kind of a sleeper South Korea pick in that DT4. The United States put up a really strong score on it yesterday, but I know South Korea has been grinding that Scarlet Rose. FlyingTuna just yesterday put up the 4th best DT score on the map, and I'm sure they've been grinding plenty more on the score V2. So I do expect we're going to see that later on in this match, and South Korea has a bit of a game to play here. There's certain free mods, even certain DTs. You look at things like the DT4 and the Hard Rock 2 that the United States picked yesterday, right? They played it yesterday. And it's, do you want to pick this yourself early on, thinking that you can win it over the US? Or do you leave it for a little bit, hope the USA picks it into you, and try and get your breakpoint back there? And that's kind of the mental game you have to play.
Yeah, and I think especially for a team like South Korea, you know, the USA is going to pick this free mod 2 next. I think there's pretty much no question about that. So you leave up some of those potentially coin flippy maps, like maybe the free mod 4 or maybe the Hard Rock 2, that are a little bit carryable for players on the United States, like Rectagon or Vaxei, for example, and pick into stuff that you know you're probably advantaged on paper based on the team comp, like this hidden 3. Requiem for the Aura, one of the OS originals this round by Litmus versus Ester. This is a variable BPM, 200 BPM in the first half and 222 BPM in the second half. Stream tech map. Lots of really, really tricky slider aim in the second half as well, whereas the first half, being that lower BPM, focuses more on the tech streams, more on the flow aim with hidden than in the second half. This is the type of map that South Korea can be very, very scary on, especially a lot of players on Team USA, Takedo excluded, really don't tend to prefer that hidden mod. A lot of the specialists for USA, like Fiery and Bashi, for example, are really good hidden players, but aren't going to be in for this sort of map because they don't have the stream stamina at 200 plus BPM to actually play this sort of map. So I think this is a really good pick for South Korea, both based off, you know, it's a tech map, A, it's in hidden, B, and C, it is a little bit higher BPM, and in particular, those hidden specialists for the USA outside of Takedo don't really mesh well with this style of map at this BPM.
Yeah, Takedo is going to be the one you're looking to for the US. This map is right in his wheelhouse, but you do kind of expect a worst HR player to be able to match Takedo's score. And from there, it comes down to the supporting combos, right? And that's where South Korea really has their advantage, especially with Kokoro, who is fantastic at some of these hidden tech picks. Kokoro is the one who I expect to be that secondary carry for SK. And this map has an absolutely brutal ending. There's some really rough slider tech that could very well catch out quite a few combos, and so the early game combos are going to be very important. And South Korea, they need a point on the board here. They cannot give up another break point, and here we go, Requiem for the Aura. Can they get one back?
South Korea, they've got to get a point on the board. USA already converted the first breakpoint in the first point of the match. We did mention it earlier, South Korea are known to take their time at the start of their respective matches. Later on, it starts to get really spicy. That's when South Korea start to wake up, ramp up, and start to really perform. Granted, we are still in that early stage, but this is still an important map. South Korea really don't want to majorly concede multiple breakpoints, especially 2. That gives United States more maps they need to win than not. So this map is still quite important here. If the South Korea lose this, USA instantly go into that free mod 2 and instantly get themselves 4 points on the board, I could imagine. So this is still a very important map. Slow intro section here with still a few hits of those scary bursts and flow sections here and there. This is a frightening flow tech map. Most original, as we mentioned, by Litmus vs. Ester. Beautiful, beautiful hidden map and perfect for a team like South Korea. Very early intro section here leads to a couple breaks from the United States and 1 from South Korea and FlyingTuna. Karcher's going to be the next to drop, even playing field now, 2-2 in the FC department. But these recoveries from the USA are going to give them a small advantage in their favor. We've still got quite a bit to go, and these streams get really, really spaced and really all good on the flow. This is where we're going to start to see more breaks. Traverse from the United States is just going to hold on, but the rest of the combos from Worst HR player and Amamya Kokoro are going to give South Korea that lead. It's going to start climbing further and further, going to the next half. Amamya Kokoro goes down though. That's even grounds that Rexagon now can only contest Worst HR player, and the recoveries are going to be really valuable there. And down goes Karcher, but traded by Rexagon. Oh, a big threat there. Shut down for the United States. Worst HR player leading it and keeping it going into the final third of the map.
Yeah, this is the kind of performance that we were looking to see from Worst HR player here. This is the reason why these maps are Korea maps in the pool. He is the reason why this team is feared in 2023. He is the one who has been popping off all tournament long. One of the most improved players from last year, even in spite of the ridiculous performance he had in Grand Finals. And he's looking to replicate it here once again, already holding on to over 1k combo here into the slider aim section in the back half again. This is sped up 222 BPM now in this part, still hitting the space streams. The sole player holding on for Korea right now. Karcher with a little bit of combo to stave off Takedo, and this 125,000 score lead all off the back of Worst HR player's massive performance. He finally drops the combo, but Karcher is still matching Takedo's combo on the side of South Korea. He goes down. Takedo is still holding, but there's not enough time. He'll slide to break the last stream, and Worst HR player will secure the point for South Korea. A massive pop-off at the end of the map to keep them even in this match and put them on the board.
I cannot say enough how incredible of a score that is from Worst HR player. 850k on a map like this. Second highest score in the lobby, 500,000, 350,000 points behind. And Worst HR player is the kind of player that warps tournament matches. Worst HR player is not necessarily the kind of player that is going to go out and FC every single map in the pool, but he is the kind of player that when you have a Worst HR player map, you know what you're getting yourself into, and Worst HR player has no problem solo carrying these maps time and time again. We saw it in last year's Grand Finals. We're seeing it this year again, and South Korea has a point on the board, but United States, very good chance they're going to get one right back. They still have that free mod 2. That is that last speedy map in the pool, and this United States team, once again, is so good at the free mods. They have Takedo and Rectagon, who can play as well as anyone on no mod on their respective hard rocks and hit-ins. Whereas for South Korea, you're throwing Karcher and Worst HR player on the mods. Karcher with the hard rock, Worst HR player on the hidden. And what that means is they're going to have a bit of a harder time playing this map. You really want your two best players to be on the no mod to be able to put up those bigger scores and have a little bit easier time. But South Korea doesn't quite have that luxury. We're going to see the other players, likely Parisha in for this one on the no mod. And I do think this one is going to be fairly US favored, but after this, the US has much less clear picks.
Yeah, this is, of course, the last remaining pure speed map in the pool in free mod 2. 245 BPM burst and stream consistency with a pretty heavy aim requirement. There's a lot of consecutive bursts and streams in this map and a little bit of finger control, but really it comes down to a couple of sections later on that will really test the stamina. Lots and lots of consecutive streams about 2/3 of the way through this map. This is yet another OS original in this pool as well. There are, in fact, 7 of them. Go ahead and check out those songs after this match is over, by the way. Tons of bangers in the OS originals in this pool. Song by Kommisar. It's AKARI Beam Cannon Last Boss. And of course, we're expecting the USA to do pretty well on this one in comparison to South Korea. One thing that I do think South Korea has going for them this time around is I think Parisia will be a lot more comfortable with this sort of map. Parisia a lot better on stuff like DT2. It's a little bit streamier and lower BPM speed as opposed to the high BPM burst speed we saw in the DT3. So looking to see Parisia maybe come in for South Korea on this map, take that no mod and try to secure a really high score for the team.
Yep, Kokoro as well has improved massively at speed over the last year, so you cannot underestimate Kokoro on a pick like this. We actually do have Restia in the lobby along with FlyingTuna, and interestingly enough, while South Korea isn't much of a speed team, they have quite a few players that have subbed in for the speed picks. We've seen Parisia, we've seen Restia, we've seen Tuna, and we've even seen Kokoro, depending on the speed pick. And of course, for the US, you've got Taquito Hidden, Recti Hard Rock, and Window Life, which your go-to speed players, looking to put USA on the board once again, get themselves a 2-point lead here on this free mod 2.
Let's see if they can keep that consolidated breakpoint on their side or if South Korea will be able to take it back early on in this match. Expectations are definitely with the USA on this one. Taquito, Window Life, Witchy, and Rectigon in for this pick. Of course, Taquito on the Hidden, Rectigon on the Hard Rock, and those are just comfort mods for these players, right? Karcher on the Hard Rock and Hidden for Restia on the side of South Korea. I don't think any discomfort for either of those players on their side, but you look at some of the performances that Taquito and Rectigon have had on these stream mod picks in the grand finals so far, both in this match and in losers finals, and they really have looked super comfortable. Not that much so on this map, though. Early breaks for Rectigon and Taquito. Parisia and FlyingTuna going to follow it up for the side of South Korea, so it's 2-1 in terms of full combos right now. Witchy breaking very early on the Nomad, and Window Life now the only remaining full combo for the USA. We're not even a quarter of the way into this map, but this is already actually not bad for South Korea. Still combo on the side of USA, though, on both Window Life and Witchy. So if we do see breaks from these full combos on Karcher and Restia, the modded players holding strong for this team, we could still see this go over. There's a trade of breaks, though, between Restia and Window Life. So going to keep things about even. Parisia going to drop the supporting combo. Witchy and Karcher will trade. And now it's FlyingTuna versus Taquito and Rectigon holding on for the United States. There goes Tuna. There goes Taquito. It's all Rectigon now with the only combo in the lobby about a third of the way through.
South Korea had such a good early advantage towards the start, FlyingTuna being the last one standing after that, but he's going to drop not long afterwards. Recovery's collective here from South Korea, but still leaning slightly in favor of the United States. That combo from Rectigon with the hard rock is going to be really, really valuable. A double miss from South Korea. No, a triple miss, never mind. Parisia joins the double miss of Karcher and Restia. It's just FlyingTuna to do something, and this section is really, really devious. It's going to drop down to FlyingTuna, but Rectigon doesn't care. The combo belongs to him. Still holding strong alongside Window Life and Wudgy, also holding on to some fantastic combo here. United States, early deficit towards the start, do not care. They're going to completely soar ahead now. 120,000 in their favor with some great combos. Rectigon and Wudgy may go down, but Window Life still recovering great. Taquito also drops. This collective recovery here from South Korea is still dangerous, though. Window Life still has to hold on towards the final core of the map. Fantastic accuracy to boot despite that earlier drop. He's looking really good to try and close out the United States, but South Korea are starting to trail. Parisia does go down, but those three combos from South Korea are still dangerous, especially from Restia, aka Zyson, with not only the best recovery combo, with that hidden bonus and that great accuracy to boot. This final section can get really, really devious. This is where the stamina is going to start really hitting a peak. This is where we could see a drastic fall apart here from anybody. A double miss from South Korea, a drop from Window Life, but the recoveries from USA are going to still keep them anchored with this lead by about 170,000 and starting to climb. Taquito goes down, but not the one you're looking for. South Korea, especially with Restia, despite holding on, will not get the win that they were hoping for. USA keep protocol safe for them and get 3rd point on the board.
A far closer point, though, than on the DT3. That DT3 by almost double team score. This time around, by less than 150,000 score. That ending, if it had gone on a bit longer, was going to start to look very scary for USA, as South Korea combo advantage near the end, just not long enough for them to take it back. And so this is now, I think, a pretty good case for maybe a change in the ban strategy for South Korea going into a potential bracket reset. That DT2 looking all the more appetizing for a roster that seems to thrive more on these longer stream stamina-focused speed maps like this Fremont 2.
Even going into this match, I really would have liked to see the DT3 ban. It is that much faster pick that South Korea really struggles with. We see on these speed picks that are slightly or two unlucky misses from the US, 1 or 2 uncharacteristic drops, and South Korea could have easily taken that one over. They do have the pick now. They're going to look to bring this one back, and they still have quite a few picks left in this pool. The USA now is out of heavy tapping picks, so that's going to give South Korea some confidence going into the rest of the map, and they're going to look for some breakpoints over the next few maps for sure. But what are we thinking for South Korea picks here? I do think both of those hiddens as well as the DT4 are potential picks for them.
Yeah, both the hiddens, definitely the Fremont 4 and DT4, I think are potential picks for South Korea, but I think you wait for USA to potentially pick that Fremont 4. One map we haven't talked about too much is the Hard Rock 3. Maybe we'll see that later on, but for now it's going to be the hidden 2 for South Korea. Replica by Isekai Joucho, mapped by Raihodo here for the World Cup Grand Finals this year. This is the low approach rate hidden reading map. It is 120 BPM alt AR8 hidden reading. This map has lots of overlapping jumps rather than perfect stacks, and that adds a form of difficulty in and of itself. It's not quite as memorization focused as some other low approach rate reading maps can be with those perfect stacks, but these overlaps are still extremely difficult to read. I mean, just imagine you're playing this map on a normal approach rate. It's still a 6.5 star alt map. You make an AR8 and put hidden on, and it is a real challenge even at the highest level.
Yeah, the last third of this map is absolutely brutal with some really snappy ult patterns, and this is not your typical aim reading pick. As Dio mentioned, this one is quite alt heavy, which is kind of been South Korea's go-to skill set, and especially with players like Kokoro and Worst HR, those are going to be the two players that are looking to carry this one. On the side of US, we're going to see Fiery in the lobby for the first time this match, and without a doubt, it's going to be looking towards Takedo as the big carry. Is their go-to hidden player for all of the free mods, all the hiddens, as well as Bashi, who is really just here for these kind of more specialist maps, is so good at the low AR hidden, is so good at the high CS precision, so is generally here for the Hard Rock 2s, the hidden 2s. It's such an interesting skill set. You know, most players are really good at hidden, including low AR. A lot of players are really good at Hard Rock, including precision. Bashi is just fantastic at everything that is slightly unusual. High CR, high CS, low AR, he can do it all.
And the same kind of goes for the man next to him, Fire Rage, the person with the most OWC championships under his belt, is coming in as well for the USA on this pick. Very, very good low approach rate reader, very good alt player, and very good precision player, looking to step in for the United States and potentially take a breakpoint against South Korea on their third pick. Can they convert, or do we see yet another breakpoint for the United States on this?
Amamya Kokoro, rest of your FlyingTuna, and Worst HR player. Keep an eye out for Worst HR player and Amamya Kokoro especially. FlyingTuna has also made a significant improvement throughout the years on his reading prowess, so I'm looking forward to seeing what the South Korean roster overall can do. Early drops there from Vaxei and Rexagon alongside Restia. These players from the United States still are very scary, especially Boshiman and Fire Rage, who are the staple reading players for this nation. So you're gonna still have a little bit of a run for your money if you're South Korea. You can't be complacent with this. Restia is still gonna be dropping a few multiple times there. Not really what you're hoping for, but still, these three major combos here from South Korea still look good past this intro section. This little Ki section here isn't too devious, but as we start ramping this up, where the control gets a little bit more amplified here, we're going to be seeing more drops. Triple miss to the United States. Vaxei, the biggest combo left, 230 combo in his favor. Restia once again going down, seemingly not his map, struggling a little bit, going into this little slidery section. Not going to be lasting too long, but still quite impactful. You got to pay attention to those sliders. And Vaxei, being that biggest combo left, is going to drop. That collective recovery from the United States totaling up to about 500 or so, whereas a double miss there from South Korea is going to start making things much more exciting. Worst HR player still holding on, being the last main combo here for South Korea. Restia once again going down, and these combos for the United States are starting to get collectively threatening. A double miss once again from South Korea, but not the one you're looking for in Worst HR player. Vaxei goes down as well. Takedo, last man standing. That threat from the USA remains suppressed just for now.
Yeah, this looked a little bit dicey for South Korea going into the second half here, but the fact that they found that triple miss, Takedo now the only combo left standing for them, really helped keep this at bay. Amamya Kokoro and Restia go down. Bashi and Fiery will trade it as well.
Worst
Stage Art Player and Taquito will trade now as well. It's FlyingTuna and Vaxei with the only combos. Vaxei will go down. It's FlyingTuna now, the only combo in the lobby. Worst Stage Art Player dropping there is pretty much worst case scenario for South Korea, but they have the 150k score lead buffer. They have the combo advantage on FlyingTuna as well, and these sections only get more and more difficult as the map goes on. Restia really struggling with this pick, but luckily Fire Age and Bashi not able to put together huge combos for the United States. Taquito and Vaxei not able to put on the carry pants we've seen them have so many times throughout the World Cup, and it's worst HR player in FlyingTuna. Amamya Kokoro actually as well, above 300k, the only other player in the lobby aside from worst HR player to meet that metric. And going into the last quarter of the map now, this is just all South Korea. This looks so good for the team. Boshiman has a little bit of combo here, but is more than matched by worst HR player. And there goes Bashi. There goes any chance of the USA taking this pick. It's going to be worst HR player carrying yet another map for South Korea, but not without help this time. Amamya Kokoro and FlyingTuna, both above 300k, both better than any of the scores on the side of the United States. This is just team dominance from South Korea on this map. And if you thought that pattern was hard, wait until after this break, because this map slaps you with the hardest pattern and then says, wait, never mind, let me go again.
Yeah, this score from Worst HR player is absolutely ridiculous. We're still getting into the hardest part of the map towards the ending, which is the ultimate ramp up, but the story's been set here for this map. Worst HR player especially, he's gonna finish this map off with 99% accuracy.
That's sick.
There's no way.
This is gonna separate him from a full combo on Replica hidden too. This is an absolutely ridiculous score, and Worst HR player is gonna close it out with 600,000. One miss. Once again, a staple carry from the star player. South Korea not only having that superstar in worst HR player, but having a good collective to suppress the rest of the USA. Sure, Restia might have struggled, but South Korea's got his back. 2 points for South Korea, only one separating them now.
I am at a loss for words. I genuinely did not think a single person would even come close to hitting that ending. Worst HR player cannot be stopped, and already South Korea is off to a better start than last year, where they did lose the first match 7-1. Now it's 3-2, and we have a match on our hands. United States, they have the next pick, but this time around they don't have that super free tapping pick that they can turn to. They're going to have to expand their picks here, and they're going to have to look for a new skill set to beat South Korea on. They do have quite a few options left. There's that Nomad 4 that was their first pick yesterday, but that's a fairly slider aim heavy tech pick. South Korea has been really good on tech throughout the tournament, so that one is a bit sketchy. I do think the Hard Rock 2 is pretty solid for the United States at some point in this match. You have Rectigon, who is so good at it, along with Bashi. Whereas for South Korea, they really rely on Karcher for those precision Hard Rocks, and Karcher has been playing well, but has not been able to match Rectigon, who is arguably the best Hard Rock player in the world right now. And so I think that's probably the next pick, but it's certainly not their only option, right? They could look towards the DT1. They're going to pick the DT4. This one is a bit of a surprise to me. I think if the United States had left this one open, South Korea likely would have picked it later on in this match. So I'm not a huge fan of this pick, but the United States have put up strong scores on it. There have been quite a few scores on this map. FlyingTuna has the current 4th best DT score on the map. But funny enough, Vaxei has a 1.1k combo on this map that was set 4 years ago. And it's just crazy how far Osu has come, that we're now playing this in Grand Finals, and I don't think anyone has gotten better than a 1.1k in match. And Vaxei, he did this 4 years ago. Not a problem.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting pick. On the one hand, it is 240 BPM bursts all throughout the map, but on the other hand, the aim control and finger control required for this is next level, and that is something that definitely favors South Korea. And when you look at how close that free mod 2 was between these two teams, I think it really starts to put into question just how much the United States can really abuse speed. versus this South Korea team. As you said, a lot of grinding on this map going on for South Korea, a lot of very old scores and history on this map for the United States, as well as having won it yesterday versus Australia. They did win this pick by over 300k versus Australia. The pop-off score from Rectigon at nearly 600k, making up a lot of that score difference. So going to be looking to him to put up a fantastic score yet again here in the Grand Finals proper. Karcher, Alagrismo, FlyingTuna, worst HR player coming in for South Korea on the United States' third pick. USA looking to keep their consolidated breakpoint alive and go up to 4-2 in this match. South Korea looking to take a breakpoint of their own and even us up 3-3 in this match against Takedo, Kama, Vaxei, and Rectigon.
And a shout out to Malashevsky, who got the first ever double time FC for the pool showcase. We should be getting into the map as Boncho loads everyone in. Here we go, Scarlet Rose.
Here it is. Yeah, that showcase score was absolutely sick, and you can see why as soon as we load into the map here. Already some breaks from both sides. Alagrismo, Kama, Rectigon, FlyingTuna, Vaxei all missing on the intro section. Hardly anyone left unscathed at the end of the first part of the map here. Takedo, worst HR player, and Karcher with full combos still intact. Only 150 combo into the map. Just goes to show how difficult this pick really is. The, again, spacing on every burst in this map is just ridiculous. This is all at 240 BPM with high AR, but it seems like South Korea a little bit more comfortable going into the first KI time. We do see worst HR player FlyingTuna drop. Karcher going to drop as well. Takedo will drop the only remaining full combo for the United States. Rectigon as well to find the miss, but it's a four-way reset for Korea, and Vaxei and Kama are holding on for the United States. The comfort in the intro betraying them in the first KI time as Vaxei continues to hold. Kama may have missed, Takedo may have missed, Rectigon may have missed, but one of the greatest of all time coming back for the United States, showing off once again what he's capable of in the E.E.L.S World Cup, holding on to combo through this slower quote-unquote section in the middle of the map, and going into the last third here, this is just looking dominant from Vaxei, but there are good recoveries on Alagrismo, Karcher, and FlyingTuna.
Vaxei finally goes down after that really oppressive combo. He is going to drop, and that remains the biggest threat for South Korea now gone. You've got no recovery tip for the United States to build back, and South Korea have 2 sets of 400 combos. Now 1 in Karcher with 500 and climbing. Final KI stages come through now. This is the part where it gets the most difficult. Karcher's got to hold on for the remainder of this because Takedo and Kama are trailing. Karcher goes down. FlyingTuna now left standing. So many drops here, but Rectigon and Vaxei are still holding. This 20,000 could still close in. USA are going to take the lead. And this is going to be it for sure. Vaxei may go down, but Rectigon still stands. It seemed like South Korea had it for its late stages, but that hardest section led to the most tremendous drops. And when Rectigon was needed most, he came in clutch. United States take the second breakpoint against South Korea.
It was so nearly the breakpoint that South Korea needed, but they just could not keep it together into the ending. And Vaxei, he did it 4 years ago. And now he does it again, getting the top score for this USA team. I don't think quite matching the score from yesterday, but that is just a solid team performance from the US, and it was a very risky pick, nearly losing it, but it certainly paid off, and they're going to be up 4-2. South Korea has the next pick, and they cannot lose another one of their own picks. They need a breakpoint from the US, and they need to win mostly all of their own picks. Losing one of your own picks now would be a disaster.
Luckily, I think they've still got quite a lot of good picks left in this pool. You can look at stuff like the Hidden One, stuff like the Nomad 4 for South Korea, even stuff like the Hard Rock 2, honestly, not a bad pick for them here. I do think they're probably going to stay away from maps like the Fremod 1 and Fremod 4, leave those up to the USA to pick. We're looking at 3 more picks for each of these teams at the maximum. And of course, haven't even mentioned yet the Hard Rock 3, maybe the most worst HR player map in the pool in Burning Star. Again, one of the E.E.L.S originals and by far the hardest map in this pool. That one is just absolutely demon. And I think if we see it picked, there it is. It is going to be that Hard Rock 3. This is perhaps the single most solo carryable map in the entire map pool. The skill floor for this map is so ridiculously high, and being able to combo significant parts of this is way, way harder than basically any other map in the pool. But if there's anybody who's going to pull that off, it's going to be worst HR player.
Yep, no pressure, but if there was any map for worst HR player, this would be it. This is Hard Rock. This is full of aim control, full of finger control tech. There are some linear patterns. There are some really tough wiggle patterns. There aim control into the ending just gets harder. The concern to me for South Korea is, yes, this is the worst HR player map, and you do have Karcher as well, who's absurdly good at the Hard Rock. But for the US, you have got players like Kama, players like Replica, who are some of the best Hard Rock players in the game. And those are two players you cannot count out on a map like this. I do think Kama may have a little bit of a tougher time, but Kama is a fantastic alt aim control player as well. USA has a very strong roster for this, and so there really is going to be a lot of pressure on both worst HR player and Karcher to carry, but you know players like Kama, like Fire Rage, are going to be able to put up solid supporting combos, and so that means both Kokoro and Allegrissimo are going to need to put up solid combos as well. Yes, worst HR player can solo carry, but you need the supporting combos as well on a map like this.
We'll see how big those supporting combos can get for South Korea, of course. FlyingTuna looking to come in for this one maybe for South Korea. Wouldn't be too surprised to see him swap in maybe for Allegrissimo or Karcher. I can't really see him swapping in for Amamya Kokoro or worst HR player, but it does swap out of the lobby. It's going to be Fiery Rage. Never mind. It's going to be Vaxei, Replica, Taquito, and Kama for the United States. No roster for either team yesterday, as this was not played in USA versus Australia. So another unique pick and another original getting shown here in the grand finals.
May the star burn bright for South Korea and for worst HR player, as the good luck have funs are in the chat.
Good luck have funs have exchanged. We're starting to get into our map now. This is known by many to be the single hardest map in the pool. You've still got quite a lot of really toughies in the World Cup, so when you know this is regarded as the hardest one, when Scarlet, Rose DT, and of course Vanitas, our tiebreaker, is around, that's how you know this one's a serious deal. Some ridiculous levels of aim control requirement in this, and with the way the map is done, it's very reminiscent of Gengar Ozo, which is a map that's also very, very famous for its relative style and difficulty. This is one of those maps where not only do you have to be incredibly precise and very strong in your control, but you have to have some insane stamina to hit these patterns for a very long time. 2 minutes and 46 seconds for a regular map with some short breaks here and there might not be too long, but this does not let go ever. Does not hold back, does not give you nearly any room to breathe. I believe there's only a tiny slowdown section outside of that. But yeah, this is a tough one, and that's why you expect your super high skill ceiling, your super reliable control players on this map. South Korea, of course, looking at worst HR player, undisputedly the favorite to get the highest score in this. But on the United States, Vaxei is in that lineup, and he is very well known to have set some of the craziest control scores in the game. So I am very excited for what both of these two players are capable of. Look out for these two, because that's where it's going to be really daunting. A few internet issues has led to a little bit of a delay into this match starting, but so far we're just letting the client catch up a little bit. Amamya Kokoro seems to be the one struggling a little bit on the internet department, but you're getting a small taste of how difficult this map truly is. This is the tamer section of the map, might I add. Panic button being pressed, but just doing a little bit of a reset, make sure all the clients are in sync. I'm not entirely sure if Amamya Kokoro is fully in the lobby or not. That might be a disconnect.
Now that disconnect
was... there we go.
Oh, no, client catch
okay.
up.
Kokoro is here, and it looks like as Poncho catches up, we should be getting into the map. Kokoro will have some solo screen time. If Kokoro actually loads in, there we go. Kokoro is going to steal the spotlight for a bit.
And hopefully
give a little bit of time.
Oh,
man.
Okay, it's aborted. There it goes. Board is interesting, especially when you get 15 seconds into the map. The players are, it's helpful for some people who have missed early on, but it also really builds the nerves. As you play maps, you're keeping yourself warm, you're building focus, and you're really getting into the match. Sitting here in the lobby for so long, having connection issues, then finally getting those resorted in theory into an abort, potentially causing another 30 seconds, 45 seconds of delay, it really takes you out of the moment. And so players may be a little bit cold and may need a little bit of time to adjust as we get into this map for the second time, but we do see FlyingTuna coming in to replace Kokoro. We'll have to watch that score from Tuna because that could be really big. It really hurts not having your go-to fourth player, but Tuna should be able to put up a solid supporting score on a map like these. Attempt 2.
Yeah, Tuna has equally set some incredible control scores. Granted, might not be the roster move that you're expecting here. FlyingTuna having to come in quickly after an unfortunate internet issue here there from Amamya Kokoro, forcing him to not be able to play this map. But regardless, I think he's capable of setting some really, really good scores on this one. So still a very exciting matchup to see, even if your main fourth player is not going to be on. We already gave a good briefing on this map and how difficult this is, and we saw some massive breaks from multiple players towards the start. With that abort coming through, we're getting into it, and already some early drops from both Allegrisimo and Karma, respectively. Karcher's going to be joining them. Another double miss. FlyingTuna and Vaxei go down. Was a child player facing up 2 full combos here from Rectagon, and Takedo no longer. Just Rectagon and Wesley Child player hitting through that entire intro. 1,438 score, separating South Korea from the United States.
Alright, we'll see how well this map goes for South Korea now. 1 full combo to 1. These stream sections really, really tricky. Vaxei and Allegrisimo missing on it. Karcher FlyingTuna holding for South Korea alongside that full combo. Kama and Takedo not too far behind the supporting scores for South Korea, but we do still see a little bit of score lead actually going the way of the United States right now. Accuracy playing a big part in that. Kama missing, though, is going to give a little bit of score lead over to South Korea. Bit of a combo advantage in their favor. And there goes Rectagon. The 1 full combo left for the United States gone now halfway through. It's all worst HR players. FlyingTuna drops as well, and there's no combo left whatsoever on the United States. Karcher there to back up this full combo from worst HR players. Still going strong halfway through this pick. This is an absolutely insane performance from worst HR player. Karcher finally dropping, and you can see the score difference between worst HR player and everyone else in the lobby. 400k now on the full combo for worst HR player. The next best score, 300k, not even, from Rectagon. This is just absurd gameplay from worst HR player right now as he continues to hold this FC and close in on the coveted 500k they were discussing in in-game chat before this map as an inhuman score.
Big Wither string coming through here. Wesley Child player's got to hold on, but he finally goes down. 500k is still achieved. 270,000 combo in favor of South Korea. No combos from USA to try and build something back. We're getting to the final quarter of the map, and USA, they've got to pull something if they want to bring this back. 250,000 this late into the stage is really hard to return from, but worst HR player just completely suppresses the entirety of the United States. He may go down, but I don't think it's going to be enough. 250,000, too far ahead of South Korea to deal or have to worry about any American threat charging through their glory with this one. Everyone is falling apart towards this ending stage. No score above 5 or 400k except for 1. The 3rd map time now. We have seen this guy set some unbelievable scores. 620,000 from worst HR player. Time and time again, this guy does not cease to impress.
Don't have your 4th player. It does not matter. Worst HR player puts on an absolute clinic. I think that is one of, if not the best scores we have seen all day. And we have already seen some insane scores this match. That map, these guys make it look pretty easy, but this map is by far one of the hardest in the pool. Worst HR player is not ready to go home. It is 4-3 for the US. They do have the next pick, and they're going to be picking the something that worst HR player can't pop off on, because if you give worst HR player a chance to pop off, he'll do so. You gotta put a stop to this guy.
I mean, this guy's just Faker right now, or what? Like, have you ever seen worst HR player and Faker in the same room? I don't think so. This guy's just popping off like no other right now. As you said, 4th player had to be replaced for South Korea due to connection issues. Amamya Kokoro not even able to play as the 4th player for their roster, and might have even been, 2nd or 3rd player on that roster, right? Amamya Kokoro is a fantastic aim control player and finger control player. So losing them on that map, I think, is probably worse, actually, than losing Karcher or Allegrisimo. But it just doesn't matter, as worst HR player. It just absolutely demolishes that map. 400k from Rectagon as well is an absurd score. But players were talking in match chat before that map, above 500k is just inhuman. And there we go. That Hard Rock 2, we've been talking about this, iFlame, for a while now. You brought it up that this is potentially a map where we see the USA pick into it, and South Korea maybe look to try to break point on something like this instead of picking it themselves, despite being a pretty good precision team, despite being a pretty good aim control team.
Yeah, we're going to see Allegrissimo coming in for South Korea. And I think this is an incredibly smart pick for the United States. Yes, there is that fear Karcher could always pop off and just solo carry this precision pick, but at best, you know you have Rectigon who can match Karcher, right? Those two are some of the best Hard Rock players in the game, if not just the two best. And along with Worst HR, it is a little bit scary, but I think it's quite telling for South Korea. They have not picked the Nomad 4, and they haven't picked the Hard Rock 2. Those are two maps that the United States played yesterday. So South Korea knows those scores. And so if you're the United States, you're thinking, okay, they know exactly what we've gotten on these maps. If they really thought they could beat us, they would have picked it already. Instead, they've gone for two maps, the Hidden 3 and the Hard Rock 3, that were not played, which is a little bit of a gamble compared to knowing exactly what the other team can get. And so the USA can be confident that at the very least, South Korea is even on paper. At the very best, you're just hard winning this one. We do see Vaxei, Bashi, and Kama, along with Rectigon in the lobby. Of course, Rectigon and Vaxei in for pretty much everything. Bashi, as we mentioned, that precision specialist, and Kama, so good at Hard Rock. Looked fantastic on the precision, and it is going to be Kokoro, that last player for South Korea. Hopefully, no connection issues this time around.
Hopefully no connection issues this time around for South Korea. It's Karcher, Amamya Kokoro, Allegrissimo, Worst HR player versus Vaxei, Boshiman, Rectigon, and Kama. This is the first map USA has picked that is not particularly speedy, where they don't have that BPM factor working in their favor. Let's see how they're able to handle it here on the Hard Rock 2.
Hard Rock 2, a very tough precision map. Consistent jumps and bursts, really does not let go. You've got a few really small and very quick patterns that are super devious. Circle streams in particular, that was just seen there. Hit by quite a few, but also missed by quite a few. A triple miss from South Korea towards the start. Not looking good. Amamya Kokoro, only one holding on to a full combo so far. United States having two, not full combos, but two big combos, able to suppress South Korea just for a little while, but with that drop from Boshi, he's now going to start twisting now in favor of South Korea. They're building this up. Fun gimmick about this map is that no single pattern in this is actually in the center. It is consistently either rotating one way or the other around the outside of the playfield, which is a cool little interesting gimmick once you notice it. But yeah, regardless of what you see here, it's really tough to keep an eye on, especially with that insane high CS of 6.9. These guys have to be really poised and ready to do this. And South Korea, they're soaring ahead right now with this lead. 326,000 accuracy, 326,000 score, sorry, not accuracy. That'd be quite insane, wouldn't it? South Korea, they're pushing very far ahead with those two combos from Amamya Kokoro and Allegrissimo, building massively. Fantastic accuracies from both of these players respectively.
Alright, and we'll see if that's able to continue. Not for Amamya Kokoro. Does find the miss there about halfway through. It's now on Allegrissimo with the big combo, but Boshiman and Kama go down. Worst HR player goes down. Finally, we see a map for South Korea where Worst HR player is not that top performer, is not the one with the combo on their shoulders. This is Allegrissimo. Put him in. He is here for this Hard Rock 2. Vaxei, Rectigon, who? It's Allegrissimo with 600k plus on this map already, holding on to the S rank going into the last quarter of the map. This score is fantastic from one of the South Korean players who I think has really been an up-and-comer for a long time and is finally showing off what he can do here. Does miss right after that last circle stream, but it's not going to matter. The map is already long over, and South Korea have taken it 4-4 in the grand finals versus the United States. We are tied up.
Oh my lord.
They have gotten the break point that they needed. This is not the South Korea USA of last year. Either one of these teams could take it. South Korea needs 3 more points to become the world champion. If the United States win this first match, of course, we will have a bracket reset right afterwards, but this one could go either way. And this time around, it's not the star players, it is Allegrissimo stepping up. And this is what is so important in these late stage matches. Worst HR player is there to put up these big carry scores on the maps that you pick, but you need those supporting players that can pop off every once in a while as well. And Honestly, United States might have gotten a little bit baited into that pick. I know I did. With that kind of a score advantage, South Korea put up 2.2 million. I think it was 2.4 million by the end of the map. 400,000 points better than United States' score from yesterday, and 700,000 better than their score from today. You have to think that South Korea overperformed and United States underperformed, but you have to overperform on these picks to get the break points. That's how they go, and now it is United States. It is South Korea looking to put themselves in the lead for the first time in this match after giving up that very early break point. They still have some options. There's the free mod 1 coming out, Necrofantasia. This is going to be your aim free mod, and I will say I do like this pick. We have talked about how United States is so good at the free mods because they can put Rectagon and Taquito on the mods, and then you still have incredibly strong players in Vaxei who are going to pop off on the no mod every time. But on a map like this, it's not easy, but it's comfortable, right? This is your very generic free mod 1. You've got some very basic aim that is fairly comfortable, not too awkward, and some fairly basic streams, right? It's almost like what you'd imagine your standard no mod 1 to be in the free mod category. So yes, you have worst HR player on the hidden, Karcher on the hard rock, which will make things a little bit more difficult for South Korea. But this is the kind of thing that they could put up big scores on, even with the mods, because of how comfortable it is. And it was played yesterday. They know what the USA can do on this map. 2.8 million yesterday, and South Korea says 2.8 million. Yeah, not a problem. We can beat that. We'll see if they can.
Yeah, I mean, with a score like that, to pick this into the United States screams confidence from South Korea, right? You're saying that, yeah, we can pretty easily beat 3 million team score if this is the next pick for South Korea. And I'm a little surprised, honestly. This is a higher BPM aim pick. This is 223 BPM. There are streams and bursts in this map, so as might not have been my first guess as to their next pick, but I think at some point we're going to have to pick one of these aim mechanics consistency maps if you are on the side of South Korea. This one they've deemed the next best option for them in this map pool. As you said, probably Hard Rock on Karcher, probably hidden on worst HR player. Of course, Hard Rock for Rectagon, hidden for Taquito on the side of the United States. Window Life coming in for this pick, not too surprising. Higher BBM mechanics, right up Window Life's alley, and alongside Vaxei, of course, the last no-mod player for the United States. Far more comfortable on the no-mod than a lot of other mods right now is Vaxei, whose return to tournaments has been relatively recent this year. With tournaments like MGC and the World Cup this year. So looking forward to seeing what these teams can do. And it is actually no mod for worst HR player. Hidden for Amamya Kokoro instead. I like it too. Put one of your best performing players, the best performing player on the roster right now, on that no mod. Make it so that he can potentially get the best score in the lobby and pop off once again for the team when you need it most. You lose this pick and you potentially go down 6-4 against the United States. So this is a crucial pick for South Korea, with USA having the next pick in this matchup. And as the map pool gets smaller and smaller, these picks get more and more important. An early break for Amamya Kokoro on one of those longer streams near the start of the map. This is the kind of speed element that makes its way, creeps into the map little by little throughout the pick, and is part of why this is a much more well-rounded sort of map, a well-rounded sort of mechanics consistency test than something like the No-Mod 1 or the Hard Rock 1, where No-Mod 1 you have basically no streams, and Hard Rock 1 you just have a couple of them later on into the map. They're kind of all throughout the map in this pick. And a lot of awkward aim in this one as well. Catches off FlyingTuna, still the 4-way full combo intact for the United States right now. Nobody really having any trouble as we get into this first KI time here. Karcher, a worst HR player, still on these full combos. The veterans we expect to pop off for Korea doing so right now, but not enough against a 4-way FC from the United States. And there goes Karcher. This is now looking like dire straits for South Korea. They take back the breakpoint, but are they going to give it away right afterwards? Is the question we need to see answered here. Worst HR player drops on the stream, and even though Window Life drops, that's only one combo out of 4 for the United States. This is looking a bit doomed for South Korea right out of the first third of the map already.
Not only have you gone for such a brave pick that you have to be confident on, but not only has it failed, it has failed to a degree where 2 of the American modded players are still holding on to their full combos. You cannot let USA get away with this. Give them an inch and they'll take a kingdom, and they're proving it with this one. 300,000 score and climbing in favor of the United States. Vaxei also with that full combo on the Nomad, ever so consistent. That drop from Window Life doesn't seem to have phased him at all. He's building up to 300 combo, outshining West a char player and or either of the unmodded players of South Korea. This collective combo advantage from the United States is going to completely soar in their favor. You've only got FlyingTuna to try and build something here. These Okoros from South Korea are looking good, but you're going to have to hope for a complete fall apart here from the United States. And we're going to the next Ki now. This is where you're going to have to really, really hope for a USA combo to go down. Vaxei, Rexcon, Takedo, one of those 3 have got to drop if you want South Korea to try and get something. These Okoros from South Korea are really, really solid, but FlyingTuna's the first to go in this Ki. It's not looking good for South Korea. Takedo may go down though, but it's not going to be a case for anyone else for the USA. The break is shown. Once the char player drops, and United States are soaring ahead with this one.
I mean, like, we said this during the map pool selection scene, right? Is that if you're going to pick this into a team that when they played it yesterday versus Australia, got 2.8 million team score, 900k for Vaxei, 700k on Hard Rock for Rectigon, 680k on Hidden for so team score. This is just a complete flop for South Korea, unfortunately. Really not having a good time on this pick. And yeah, you've got big combo on Amamya Kokoro. Vaxei finally goes down, but the combo for Kokoro is matched by Window Life, and Rectigon is just a monster on this side of map.
Yeah, United States are going to be able to take a big pick on this one. The risk was established previously on as the pick was made, and unfortunately has not worked out for South Korea. The bold, courageous, brave pick into the United States on a map like this has unfortunately backfired horrifically, and I mean horrifically. 880,000 score is no joke at all. You've got good recovers on Amamya Kokoro and FlyingTuna, but compare that to Rectigon, who is still holding on to the full combo. Rectigon goes down towards the end, but 1 million score still done for him. What a score from this man!
That was incredible. We saw, unfortunately, Rectigon miss on the exact same place nearly that Vaxei did yesterday on the Nomad, but 3 million was the score to beat, and unfortunately for South Korea, they came nowhere close. In hindsight, it was a bit of a baffling pick. Unless South Korea bottom scored, had everyone bottom score based compared to their locals, this is never really a pick you go for. They had all the information, and they pay the price. Now the United States has the pick, and they can bring this one to match point. South Korea needed to consolidate their break point, but unfortunately not able to do so here. And now the USA likely could go into something like that No Mod 4 or that DT1. Even the Free Mod 4 could be a decent pick for them. It is a little bit altier, so I think they leave the Free Mod 4 open, just on the off chance that South Korea picks it, as that's the kind of thing that South Korea may feel comfortable on. I think it is much more likely we see either the Hard Rock 1 or potentially the No Mod 4 that was the first pick for the US yesterday. Even the DT1, great pick for them.
Now, I'm thinking what you're thinking with the Hard Rock 1, you know, speedy consistency map, 240 BPM, very similar to what we just saw in the Free Mod 1, although much less awkward in how the aim is handled. However, have you considered that all 5 of the maps USA has won are DT3 through Free Mod 3? All 5 of them in a row are the exact wins for them. So maybe they go Free Mod 4, but no, it's gonna be the Hard Rock 1 instead. And I think, as you said, this pick makes a lot of sense. It's another consistency-focused aim map, 240 BPM, so a little even higher BPM than what we just saw in the Free Mod 1. Much less awkward in how the aim is handled, but a couple of longer streams, about 2/3 of the way into this map. This is 240 BPM Hard Rock aim consistency with some 13 and 17 note 240 BPM streams, about 2/3 of the way through. And at that point in time in the map, if you miss and chain miss on that sort of pattern, you're possible score can go, if you're holding an FC, from 1 million down to 600K or so. And that is a huge drop in potential score. So if you are the team that's better favored on mechanics overall, both in the aim and in the speed, or just in one or the other, you're really going to thrive on a pick like this that tests both almost in different sections, with aim through the majority of the map and streams just really nailed down in that one section 2/3 of the way through.
For the USA, I expect we are going to be seeing pretty much the same lineup as we did yesterday. Recti, Vaxei, Taquito, and of course Kama. That's a terrifying hard rock lineup. Rectigon and Kama being the 2-star players with Vaxei to follow up. Even Taquito, who, as well known as he is for being one of the best hidden players, especially over the last year, has grown incredibly strong on the hard rock. We do see both Kokoro and Elagrissimo in. Let's think back to that hard rock too. It wasn't worst HR player, it wasn't Karcher, it was Elagrissimo popping off the hard rock. So if they can do it again, South Korea could potentially get that breakpoint back, but everybody needs to hold on through that solo, through that streamier section. You have to be consistent with your aim. This is a little bit of a longer map at 3 minutes and 8 this one, and it is going to come down to most likely 2 or 3, maybe probably 1 or 2 big combos on each team towards the end of this map. Here we go. South Korea desperately needs to take this one back. You cannot afford to put the United States on match point.
That last pick from South Korea backfired massively, but this is their chance to try and even out the playing field once again, convert it once again. They've pulled miraculous breakpoints before in that hard rock 2. They can do it again. Elagrissimo performed exceptionally on that hard rock 2 last time. It's his time to shine once again for South Korea. He's got to try and do this alongside Karcher, who is known to be one of the best hard rock aim consistency players in the game. Fantastic at this kind of skill set. So South Korea definitely on paper have a great team for this. Very high potential of getting the upside that you need. But on the side of the United States, what a daunting team this is. Of course, you have to look at Rectagon for this one. Really, really threatening for him. But on the side of the United States so far, a double miss from both Vaxei and Karma is going to give them a bit of a disadvantage, but it is traded very quickly by Amamya Kokoro and West HR player. 2-2 in the full combo department. Karcher, Elagrissimo, Rexagon, Taquito, all holding on to the full combos, especially Elagrissimo and Taquito holding on to their full combos. Not only that, an SS on top of that. It may get shut down later on, but these 2 full combos still remain stable going past this first quarter of the map.
That's a little bit of a combo advantage for the United States on those supporting combos for Vaxei and Kama, and the accuracy actually very, very good for both of these teams. There goes Kama though, so a little bit of that combo back towards South Korea at the moment. We're just all eyes on the top row right now though. Worst HR player in Vaxei will drop as well. It's Amamya Kokoro with the only supporting combo. That's traded back as well. And honestly, all these trades don't matter in the face of a trade from Taquito. There goes one of the full combos for the United States. Those are the drops that you really look for to decide a map like this when it is close, when the supporting players keep trading for the United States now as Karcher and Elagrissimo continue to hold their full combos. Going into the second half, here is the stream section. Can they continue to hold? Rectagon is the one who drops instead. This is not what we expected going into the map. We thought the stream section might be bad for South Korea, but it's the United States who falter when it matters most. 2/3 of the way in, and South Korea now 2 full combos intact. Nothing standing in the way of yet another breakpoint in this match, and Korea looking to try and tie us up on their next pick.
Elagrissimo and Karcher still holding on past this last quarter of the map. Last third of the map even. Once a child player recovery goes down, but that's not anything that matters here. These 2 full combos with Elagrissimo and Karcher are absolutely unreal. We expected Rexagon to hit that stream section with perfection. He's known to be not only great at hard rock game, but tapping mechanics on top of that. Perfect for this kind of map. He's going to be the one to go down though. And despite Elagrissimo dropping, Karcher, the ever so reliable hard rock consistency machine, is going to completely shred this for South Korea. He's going to hit that big section there, and it all comes down to this ending for Karcher, whether he can end this off in style. 400,000 score, way too far ahead for the USA to bring back. South Korea will bounce another breakpoint after a tremendous loss on the previous 3-mod-1. They don't care. Hard Rock Wrong belongs to them. And Karcher, as long as he hits his last jumps, will secure the FC for South Korea.
What is Karcher doing? This is reminiscent of almost a year ago now when Karcher was putting up some of the most insane Hard Rock scores, absolutely taking the tournament scene by storm, and Karcher does it again, along with, guess who? Of course, it's Allegrissimo, who has just been so incredible on these Hard Rocks, and these teams continue to trade breakpoints now. That is 3 in a row. South Korea, United States, these two teams know how to put on a show. Now it's South Korea with the pick. Whoever wins this next map will be on breakpoint. South Korea could potentially be 1 map away from winning the Osu World Championship for their 4th time in their history, but they need to make the right pick. It all comes down to this. Each team has 1 pick left before we see a tiebreaker, assuming they can each win their own pick. So both of these teams are going to be considering the picks very, very carefully. I would not be surprised to see a couple of timeouts used. This is the time to use them. You got to settle down your nerves. You have to consider your picks carefully. And this is where the nerves could come into play. South Korea has a largely very experienced roster. USA does as well, but they have a couple rookies in Window Life and Woodshi, and the nerves are going to be off the charts right now. It doesn't get any more intense than this. There's the timeout. Okay. We have some time, Dio, to talk about this pick. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit, but before we get there, thumb injury be damned. My boy can aim some circles. Karcher,
oh, yes.
Despite the thumb injury, full comboing that is actually ridiculous. Unfortunately, aim a bit underweighted right now. 681 PP is Karcher's score on that map exactly. Still a ridiculous score. And one more thing before we get into talking about the potential next pick for South Korea is I want to really shout out some of the other members of this team, as during the first half of this match, it seems like it really was the worst HR player show. Every map he was in for, he was top scoring for the South Korea roster. Their last several points in a row, he has been the bottom scorer for the roster, and it has been the rest of the team. Allegrissimo, Karcher, Amamya Kokoro, FlyingTuna as well, putting up the scores needed to send them over that finish line and tie them up 5-5 in this match. Last pick incoming for both teams. And for South Korea, I'm looking at 2 maps. I'm looking at Nomad 4 and Hidden 1. They are 2 for 2 on the Hiddens right now, so that Hidden 1 has to be tempting. But the Nomad 4 as well, this is potentially the best tech team in the tournament. Citation needed on that one, but we've already seen them win the Hidden 3, so I would not be at all surprised to see them pick into that Nomad 4, especially with the double Nomad ban on that Nomad 3, Nomad 5 as well.
Yep. Between the two, I do agree. It is between those two for sure. I personally prefer the Hidden 1 if I had to go with one of them. The United States picked the Nomad 4 first pick yesterday. They got 2 million score on it. And I think if South Korea felt confident that they could beat that 2 million score, they would have picked it already. We have seen breakpoints, so it's not necessarily a requirement. It doesn't mean by any means that they are they can't beat the 2 million score. But I'm not sure they're very confident on the pick. The HD1, I think, feels a little bit better for them, but they're going to go for the Nomad 4. 2 million points is the benchmark this time. Last time we saw this take place, it was on the free mod 1, did not pay off. This time around, it is going to be Hidden 1. This is incredibly awkward aim, 204 BPM. The map is slightly rhythmic as well, so something to watch out for there. You've got some tricky aim control streams thrown into the map that are great for South Korea. We'll see if those catch out any players, and there's a fairly tough stream section just after halfway into the map, and so it is 200 BPM. I think everybody should be comfortable with it.
I wanna stop you there because
go for it.
I think you may be reading off the Hidden 1, the Nomad 4, 222 BPM.
Right. Yeah,
this is the full slider tech map, man. You've got some really wonky slider shapes at the start and a bit more kind of visual structure to the sliders in the second half, but there are some difficult stream sections in this map too. This is not just pure slider tech like you're used to seeing in the Nomad 4 slot. There is that higher BPM burst mechanics test going on in this map, especially about halfway through. Kind of coincidentally with the Hidden 1, it's honestly really similarly structured, but the streams in this are far shorter at that higher BPM, so we'll see if that is potentially beneficial for South Korea going into this type of map.
zoned in on the Hard Rock one a little bit. We've got some players all over the place in this lobby. We're going to see Vaxei switch over. We've got the rosters in mostly for both teams. We're waiting on one from South Korea. I think that's very likely to be... Oh, it could be Allegrissimo. I would be a little bit surprised if it wasn't Kokoro, who has been the go-to tech player for South Korea, but I don't hate this at all. Allegrissimo has been on fire. And looking back to this last one, it was largely Vaxei carrying the USA's team score, 730,000. It was an insanely good performance from Vaxei on this No Mod 4 to get them to 2 million points. The rest of the team were all below 500k, and so there's a lot of pressure on Vaxei to carry on this map. If he can't repeat that insane 750,000 score on the No Mod 5, which is, to be honest, very likely, we could see South Korea just run away with this one with better team scores. All they need is one combo, whether it's Worst HR, whether it's Karcher, one combo to get above that, 600, 700,000 mark, and they're going to be in a really good spot. Can South Korea bring themselves to match point? Here we go into Sona's Rectigon finds the first miss.
This is a very important map here for South Korea. This is going to be their final pick of this match. If they take this, Vanitas is at least secured for them. It all comes down to this No Mod 4 here. Custom song by Zuna. A fantastic... Tons of doubles into these massive streams. You need some incredible discipline and control in this one. And we're already seeing so many breakdowns to this major KI. A triple miss in the United States. Only Vaxei holding on for the side of the United States. South Korea still have FlyingTuna and Allegrissimo to hold on. It is not Wesley Child Player hold on to this full combo. And into this next third of the map to go. Another major ramp up here. Allegrissimo and FlyingTuna still have to keep Vaxei in check. That reach is still really, really viable. Allegrissimo goes down. It's 1-to-1 in the full combos here. The recoveries here from South Korea are going to slowly give them a tiny lead. Karcher and Wesley Child Player building, but FlyingTuna goes down. It's all up to Vaxei to try and keep the combo going. This part is still really, really tough. Can Vaxei hit this next build-up section? He's doing it so far. The USA are going to start clawing this lead. Vaxei does not stop hitting these sections.
There's Worst HR Player and Karcher still with big combo on the side of South Korea, but Rectigon is hoping to match one of them here going into the ending. This is where the aim mechanics and stream mechanics start to really come into play in this map. You have these really tough reverse sliders as well in this part of the map to watch out for as the recovery combos start to become more and more impactful here. 100k lead for the United States last quarter of the map. Vaxei drops, Karcher will drop as well. It's Rectigon and Worst HR Player to hold as Kama and Taquito back up Rectigon for the United States. FlyingTuna and Allegrissimo for Worst HR Player on the side of Korea. Do we see Rectigon drop? That is the question. Yes, he does. He finds one in the bottom right corner. Worst HR Player continuing to hold now. If he can hold on through the stream section, this is going to be it. FlyingTuna and Worst HR Player can maybe bring this back for South Korea, but FlyingTuna missing is going to make this harder and harder. This score lead is going over to the USA, Shiba. Too many misses from the rest of the South Korean team, and at 50k, it's just not enough. United States will take the breakpoint on South Korea's last pick.
Oh my god. If you gave South Korea just a little bit more time, a little bit of time for Wesley Child Player to build, that could have flipped in an instant. But USA will take the breakpoint once again, and they're one map away from bringing us to a bracket reset.
Worst HR Player with the S rank. Unfortunately for South Korea, it was not enough, and that is a breakpoint. It is United States pick. Their destiny is in their hands. They could bring us to a reset right here, or if South Korea makes the comeback and gets the breakpoint right back, we could very well see a tiebreaker here. The United States could very well use their timeout now. They're going to be considering this pick carefully. They're not going to be going for the hidden one. I think it's between the free mod 4th. They did look very good on. That seems to be most likely. DT1, an option as well, but that is risky. It is kind of your fairly standard DT aim. It isn't too speedy, isn't too bursty, only few bursts, and so we'll see.
We'll see indeed. Do the United States pick correctly, or do we see a 5th breakpoint in a row? It has been 4 in a row so far to close out this match potentially, and USA looking to not repeat the same mistake once again here on their last pick, looking to avoid tiebreaker in Vanitas here against South Korea. They do not want to play that tiebreaker. They want to go to bracket reset immediately on this pick, so I can agree with the timeout here. And I can also agree we're probably seeing either the DT1 or the Free Mod 4. And there it is, Free Mod 4. Yesterday, Vaxei full comboed this map with no mod. It was an absolutely absurd score from him, 960k, with the next best score in the lobby being under 580,000 from Emrek on no mod. This is a really, really difficult map. It is Isamir D'Angelo alt on yet another custom map here in the World Cup Grand Finals. Hybrid snap aim and flow aim with just an absolute demon ending. That 264 BPM, you can about cut it in half for the alt sections in this map. It plays more like 132 BPM alt. The ending, however, is above 330 BPM, which plays more like 165 BPM alt. That speed up section claims everyone's combos just about. So if you are able to hold through the ending, your score goes from maybe 600-700k to 950k plus, and that's really a huge difference maker in a match like this, where a lot of times you're going to see scores under 500k in the grand finals.
And actually, the first half of this map is quite easy compared to how insanely hard the second half of this map is. So it's going to be so important to hold on to the early combos. We're not likely to see massive comebacks into the ending, except for Vaxei, who did FC this yesterday. And for South Korea, I genuinely would like to see Kokoro stay in and take the hidden for worst HR player. We're going to see FlyingTuna again. I just think this is the kind of map that you need worst HR player to solo carry. This is kind of his style of map, and you don't want him to have to play the hidden. That is so tricky on a pick like this and makes the map so much harder. But we'll find out what those mods are in a second. I think it will be worst HR player on the hidden with Kokoro out of the map. And there it is, Karcher Hard Rock, worst HR player hidden, Takedo hidden, and Recti gone Hard Rock. United States are 1 point away from taking us to a bracket reset. Can they do it on E.E.L.S? We'll find out in about 3.5 minutes.
Let's see what these rosters have in store for us on this map. A couple of early misses coming out of both of the Hard Rock players here. That intro, very, very difficult on just the raw aim consistency for both Karcher and Rectigon on that Hard Rock. Of course, hidden for worst HR player and Takedo. No mod for FlyingTuna, Allegrissimo, Kama, and Vaxei on this one. USA looking for Vaxei to carry once again, looking for Rectigon to put up the over 550k that he had on Hard Rock yesterday on this map. And South Korea looking to stuff their hopes and dreams and keep this match going one map longer, force that tiebreaker. Karcher gonna find multiple drops on the Hard Rock here. Had some of the best Hard Rock performances we've seen in a while out of him in this match, but this map is just next level in terms of the difficulty for alt players. And Karcher, even at his prime, was never really known for the Hard Rock alt. There go Kama and Rectigon though for the United States, and now suddenly it's a combo advantage for South Korea here. FlyingTuna, worst HR player, Allegrissimo, all on the full combos against just Takedo and Vaxei. But as iFlame said, this map a lot easier in the first half, especially before you get to the true ending of this map, where that speed up occurs. You can count a lot of this as easier patterning in this map compared to the ending for sure. We're still going to see these full combos going for South Korea. Nobody getting caught off by the 1/6 burst in this. Rectigon dropping on the Hard Rock as well. Now it's Karcher with the drop in his stead. Kama and Vaxei actually dropping as well. And this is just disaster for the United States. FlyingTuna will trade it, but it's worst HR player and Allegrissimo to hold on for South Korea. Only Takedo with the full combo intact for the United States. And a third of the way through, this
there's potential here for the United States to flip. This build-up from Vaxei and Rectigon is going to be really hard to bring back. South Korea with that fresh triple miss, they're going to have the recoveries in favor of the United States with Rectigon that 200 and climbing. But soon, as long as this builds for South Korea, as long as those key combos stay stable towards this final third of the map, South Korea could secure tiebreaker. We might see Vanitas as long as they stay alive. Worst HR player time and time again has shown the world how truly unbelievable he is. And we are going to a slow wrap-up section before we get into the final quarter and the absolutely devious ending section. Your two hidden players are the last ones standing. These recoveries from both of these teams are really important here. As long as they all hold on, this could get lean in favor of South Korea. Those two big combos are extremely valuable, granted, but these recoveries could also be really important. Allegrisimo goes down, starting this ramp-up section. These combos are still really valuable. It's slowly starting to close in favor of the United States, but anything can happen. You can see these little back-and-forth sections that really spike your aim control. Rexagon still holds on to great combo. Karcher goes down the hard rock. Advantage now in the United States. Slow slider doesn't trip up anybody. Worst HR playing Takedo. Still looking good. Rexagon may drop on that slider just beforehand. So it's still even. South Korea are going to start building this more and more. FlyingTuna's got great backing up, but he's slowly going to start getting oppressed by Karma and Vaxei. USA holding on to disadvantage. We're going to be building up into the ending section. It all comes down to this. Worst HR playing Takedo still looking good. But once the top play goes down, ginormous combo drop to South Korea. Multiple drops in from multiple teams, but Takedo still holds. No, he doesn't. He's down, and it's all up to Vaxei, who drops as well. But that won't matter. United States will take us to bracket reset.
They win the match 7-5 in the first round of grand finals. The closest grands we've seen in a few years now between the United States and South Korea. This was a back and forth match with breakpoints everywhere, but United States does not continue that trend. They break the mold. They win their last pick against South Korea, and bracket reset is in the cards here once again for the United States, going up against South Korea in the grand finals. 2 years in a row. The narratives write themselves this time around, iFlame. This is just one hell of a grand finals. I am so here for this bracket reset.
They certainly do, and I think the real award should go to the script writers this year. It does not get any better than this. When it came down to the wire, it was Takedo who showed up on the hidden to put USA through to the bracket reset. They're not going to have to play that tiebreaker. And I expect we're going to see some switch-ups, especially considering how many break points were given up towards the ending, into this next match. I want to see some adaptations from both teams, especially in the bans for South Korea. I think you drop that DT2 ban, opt into a DT3 ban instead, and take your chances on that DT2.
Yeah, I think I agree with you full stop on the last couple of bans there for South Korea. The DT3 was so one-sided as a first pick for USA that I think you can just leave up the DT2, ban out that DT3, and potentially have a better time on it. And with how close that free mod 2 is, I think the no mod 2 ban can stay put. As for USA, there wasn't a lot of maps that were super one-sided in the favor of South Korea. You have the Hard Rock 2, for example. 800k on Allegrisimo is such a pop-off on that map. And there were a couple of other maps that were relatively good for South Korea in this match, but so many close maps near the end of this one. Both of the last picks won by less than 100,000 points by USA. So I think we're going to stay with a relatively close match here between the teams, and maybe a couple shakeups in the pick strategy. We did see, of course, a couple of mispicks during this match. Obviously, lots of breakpoints near the end, but notably a 900k score difference on Free Mod 1 in favor of the USA on South Korea's pick. And of course, that 600k score difference on the Hard Rock 2 for South Korea on the USA's pick. So I think more so than the ban strategy, maybe we see the DT3 and DT2 ban swap for South Korea. I think we're going to see a lot more change-ups in the pick strategy for this teams as we kind of get down to the wire and the map pool starts to get smaller and smaller for what kinds of maps these teams can actually pick from.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think one mod that was really exciting for everybody here was the Hard Rock. We saw a lot of contested stuff. South Korea taking 2 breakpoints in a row against the United States on what was known to be one of their better, more known strengths in this. That's going to be a really exciting prospect. Whether or not Hard Rock will be a considered pick for either team, or whether we'll be seeing Chicken being played with that one, we don't know. Free Mod 4 is very clearly a threat for both respective teams. So yes, you are right. This match, it has caused a lot of shakeups, a lot of expectations switched around. We've got so many different maps being switched in each team's respective favors, either turning from one-sided maps into toss-ups or from toss-ups to one-sided maps. This next bracket reset will be where the real deal starts, where the real information is exchanged, and where the real points will truly matter.
We are going to give the players a little bit of time to collect themselves. We're going to take about 5 minutes, so the players should be back in the lobby, and we should be good to get started in about 3 minutes from now. And I mean, they've already said it. There were so many close matches that could have gone either way. You look at that 37,000 points early on, and then just so many breakpoints into the ending. We're not going to see the teams winning the exact same maps this time around. And I can't wait to see how they change up the picks, whether there are any picks that they opt to save later on in the match for some momentum, knowing that they have big advantages on that. I think South Korea, the big one for them is that early break point that they gave up on their very first pick. That's a map that they're going to want back. They're going to look to change that pick very likely. And it did just put them on the back foot for the entirety of the match. You know, were it not for that early break point, they would have been going to tiebreaker rather than having to play a full another match. And so that'll be the first big change for South Korea, to me at least, going into this big phase.
Yeah, I completely agree. But that map was still not too far off. It was 260k. So I think we may still see them pick it a little bit later on into the match. They had success with the Hidden 2 and the Hard Rock 2 individually. So I think they're not going to first pick it, that's for sure. But I do think we maybe see them pick it later on into the match. And this is the do-or-die situation for both of these teams now. This is it. This is bracket reset in grand finals. The playing field is completely even. Both these teams have all the information they need going into the end, going into the final match of the year, the biggest match of the year for both of these teams. Grand finals, bracket reset in the U.S. World Cup 2023. Now the United States, the winning team in the first set of grand finals on the left as Team Red. South Korea defending their #1 qualifier seed against the 5-time defending world champions in the United States on the blue side this time around.
Will we finally get a new world champion? Or will the United States just take it again? We're going to find out shortly. This is what it all comes down to. As you said, Dio, this is it. There is nothing more. Now is the time to perform. Now is the time to put up your big scores. And now is the time to prove that you are the best country in the world, and that's what each of these players is going to be trying to do. I would love to see Allegrissimo keep up this absurd performance, especially on those hard rocks. We're going to see some interesting picks. I'm very curious which of these maps the teams have given up break points on and just feel like they underperformed it. They're going to go right back to some of these picks that they lost beforehand and say, we had a little bit of a rough score, we can do better, and we trust ourselves. We're going to go right back to it. The free mod 1, I don't think is one of those for South Korea, but I do think there are quite a few maps, especially in the later stages for both teams, that they're not going to be afraid to pick again, even if they didn't win it the first time around.
We'll see how exactly they want to change up that pick strategy. I think we should be getting into the lobby shortly here, just waiting on the teams to be to that as soon as we have everybody in the lobby ready to go, match ready to start, and here we are. It's time for the bracket reset. Bans coming out for both of these teams. As we discussed, the No Mod 2 ban pretty likely to stay for South Korea with how close that Free Mod 2 was. And you know, we're talking about either No Mod 2 versus Free Mod 2 or DT2 versus DT3, specifically because you cannot ban 2 maps from the exact same mod pool, except if you're banning no mod maps. So in the United States, probably going to keep the same double ban of no mod 3, no mod 5. South Korea, however, cannot just double ban DT2, DT3, as I think they would probably like to do. They do have to ban either that no mod 2 or free mod 2 if they're looking to ban out the speed, which I think is the right move here. Probably going to keep the no mod 2 ban, and this time around switch it up with the DT3 ban. I think is probably the ban strategy for this team. We'll see. No, they are actually going to keep the DT2 ban. Okay, so saying, yeah, we're still not good enough on this map to be able to leave it open. So we're probably going to see the exact same bans here. Very unfortunate, given that No Mod 2 is again one of those OS originals, Pixel Planet by Lime, please go check out that song as well. We're not going to see the map here played today, but that is an absolute banger of a song and map. I had the pleasure of playtesting that one myself, and there were a lot of changes to that map. Strategos uploaded both the tournament version that you see here in the ultra difficulty and a champion version, the unnerfed original draft of the map, which is far harder and way higher spaced on basically everything. So go check that one out. It is super cool. In the meantime, though, I think just waiting for that No Mod 2 ban to come out. They seem to be deliberating a little bit on the side of South Korea, though, so maybe questioning whether they should leave up that free Mod 2 pick. Maybe they high rolled on the last score, you never know, and are saying, yeah, that was probably a good performance from us. Let's change it up and ban out the free Mod 2 and then see what we can do on the No Mod 2 with a little bit of warm up.
I mean, they may even be looking at the free mod 1 at this point. You know,
that's true
they
too.
picked it themselves last time around, but they proceeded to get absolutely blasted by about 700k. And I mean, to rewind a little bit, I really like what the USA has done here. They've opted for the second pick. So South Korea does get the first pick, but what that means is that if we do go to tiebreaker, the United States are going to have the last pick before tiebreaker. So if it comes down to it, the United States are going to be able to control the momentum going into a tiebreaker. And I feel like that's such an underrated thing to have, that it's not super talked about, but you often do see teams, especially in the World Cup, opt into that second pick for exactly that reason. You want to have the possibility of that last pick if you do need to go to a tiebreaker. There's the No Mod 2 ban again, and what this means is that we're going to see the exact same, I think, first two picks from the United States. It's going to be the DT3, it's going to be the free mod 2, but now South Korea has the pick. Last time around, if you guys remember, they gave up the breakpoint on R176, that free mod 3. They have some maps that
is actually a DT4 first pick for South Korea. This is super surprising as a first pick. USA won this in the first round of Grand Finals. They granted by 37k, but this is a pick that South Korea lost last time around. So this is a super surprising first pick. When you're going into a bracket reset, usually you expect the team who lost to pick into the maps they won first and maybe save one for later on into the match if it was very close like we saw in the previous one. But I don't think you really ever expect a team to pick into a map they lost unless they're confident they heavily low-rolled and they can win almost every time if they play it again. So this is South Korea saying that was a low roll, that was a bad score from us. We're going to wipe the floor with you on this first pick this time around and get the scores that we know we can get from our practice.
Now, I have to defend this pick from South Korea. Yes, they lost it by 39,000, but notably, the United States have played this twice now, right? First time around, 1.9 million. Second time around, 1.75 million. Those are two fairly consistent scores. So for South Korea, you generally have a pretty good idea that this is around what the USA is going to get. You know, it's not a low roll, it's not a high roll. This is just consistently what the USA gets. And so if South Korea feels like they low rolled, they go, okay, we low rolled. We know the US is getting roughly 1.7 to 1.9 million. We beat that score 7 times out of 10. And that's just a great pick for South Korea if that's the case. But the expectation is, of course, that they did low roll it last time. If we see a 1.7 again come out from them, becomes very quickly a very underwhelming pick for the South Korean roster. And I do expect we're going to see the same lineups again for both teams here. Vaxei, Takedo, Rectigon, along with Karcher, FlyingTuna, Allegrissimo, and Worst HR. Last time around, it was Vaxei, 500,000, that kept United States in the lead and secured them that point by 39,000. We're going to need to see Vaxei put up a similar performance. Here we go. First map of the final match in the OSU World Cup 2023. All comes down to this. Scarlet Rose. Can Vaxei do it again? Or will South Korea pull it off this time around? Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this match all chips into this. Kicking it off with Scarlet Rose. On paper, quite a brave one, as USA were favored to win this before, but this is the time where South Korea go all guns blazing. Scarlet Rose to start this one off. We've already talked about it. Notoriously difficult levels of aim control. One of the very iconic maps in the OSU scene. Extremely well known and famous for its absolutely absurd difficulty on the double time. Early stage advantage here looking good for South Korea. You've got that early drop from Karcher and White Child player. But outside of that, Allegrissimo and FlyingTuna especially looking really, really good. But it's starting to ramp up now. This is where we could see more drops. Karma and Vaxei were the first to drop the United States alongside with Takedo. Rectigon with the only last one standing. Takedo goes down, but a double miss on the side of South Korea. FlyingTuna and Karcher still looking good. And FlyingTuna goes down as well. It's all up to Karcher and Vaxei to try and hold on to this full section. Are we going to see a drop towards the end? No! Advantage still in favor of South Korea. Vaxei holds on, keeps the United States anchored, has the chance to try and bring this back towards the late stage. But Karcher drops on nothing! That's a tragic misstep from South Korea! Oh my lord! USA are going to start slowly climbing this back now. The recoveries collectively from the United States are going to at least contest the recoveries from South Korea. Vaxei remains completely untouched, and with that drop from Allegrissimo is going to stay advantage if South Korea, but Vaxei goes down. Same with Karma. Takedo and Rectigon, last two combos standing, but down goes Karma as well. We're not even the hardest section of the map. This section gets really tough. A double miss from South Korea once again. Karcher and Allegrissimo still going down. FlyingTuna also drops. What's the child player? Last man standing. 130,000 score. The ramp up gets really intense. Allegrissimo goes down once again. Vaxei and Rectigon still looking good in the recoveries, but there's not going to be enough. Worst HR player, he may drop, but I think that's going to be enough. Vaxei's the last man standing here, but I don't know if that's going to be it. USA, they might flop on this, but Vaxei hits the ending.
There's still time. There's still time. Can Vaxei pull it back? Is it enough? No, he finds the miss at the very end of the map.
Oh my
and it's enough. South Korea, they're able to take it by less than 90k. This map works. This map a collective score difference of under 130,000 score between the two teams, both times that it was played, and South Korea reading it right. The confidence pick working out here on Scarlet Rose.
South Korea, silence the doubters, and Shiba, take a couple breaths, man. You deserve them after that commentary. South Korea, don't fall into the same trap as they did last match. They're going to win their first pick this time, and they are in a much better spot this time around. Even just from a mental perspective, it feels so much better not to be on the back foot right out of the gate. And not only that, but to win a map that you lost last time around. It was on South Korea to find wins on maps that they hadn't previously. They're the ones who were one map off the tiebreaker. Now they found that win. Of course, there are going to be more maps that go differently than the previous match, but South Korea is laying the groundwork to win it this time around. The United States have the next pick, and I think this one's pretty obvious. Free Mod 2, DT3, take the order. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be two USA picks, and they're going to look very good on both of them. But we did see South Korea put up some very good Free Mod 2 scores and keep that within 100,000 points. So maybe South Korea can pull together some kind of a miracle and find a breakpoint on the Free Mod 2. I imagine we're going to see the DT3 first, to be followed up by the Free Mod 2 for the USA's next pick. And expect to lose. They're going to go in and they're going to put up the best scores they can. But at the end of the day, if they lose this pick by quite a lot again, they're not going to give it too much thought. They're going to be pretty content to go right back into their own picks and get some points of their own.
All right, here we go. First pick for United States. We're expecting this one to be pretty one-sided, but very unlike the previous pick. Restia with an early break, FlyingTuna with an early break. Nobody on United States to break at the start of the map here. Accuracy for Karcher is insane right now, but it's being matched by Kama on that high 99 accuracy. Wuchi having a little bit of struggle at the start of the map here with the accuracy, but not going to matter with the combo drops early on for FlyingTuna and Restia, as still the 4-way full combo intact here. Recticon is going to trade with FlyingTuna, though. That's good for Korea. FlyingTuna had already broken once, so now it's 2 full combos to 3. And supporting combo from Restia pretty close to the extra combo from the United States. There go Karcher and Amamya Kokoro, though, and now this is starting to look like what we saw last time around. And unlike on the previous map, I don't think there's going to be any Rap God casting for this one. The misses are all one-sided in this case. Window Life will drop, but it just does not matter. Kama and Wuchi with the full combos still intact, and there's just not anything that South Korea can do. Restia does have a pretty big combo himself, but there's just not too much you can do when the rest of your team is struggling to put together the supporting combos. And there goes Restia now in the middle of the map, very middle of the map as well. So that is the biggest drop possible. You do see Kama drop in time, but it's Wuchi to continue on with the last full combo in the lobby. Big support from no longer Rection. Window Life with a little bit of support there. Wuchi will drop as well. It's only Karcher to drop from the side of Korea, and now I don't think there's any worth continuing on here. FlyingTuna has combo, but this lead's too big.
Yeah, we're going into the guitar solo section. The question now is whether Window Life and Rectagon and Kama on these recoveries can hit this section in absolute style. The hardest part of the map, biggest stamina requirement come through, and it won't be the case. In fact, all 3 of them are to go down. Unfortunately, the United States, they might not clean this in style, but keep an eye on FlyingTuna here. He's had that entire section and is looking to lead the charge of his house to potentially build something, but no, that will not be the case. Any kind of hope for South Korea on this map has been shut down. The United States, through insane early game performances from all 4 members of their team, they're going to excel on this just like last round. No crazy surprise with this one. Unlike the double time 4, United States are going to be the ones to take Super Nuko World once again, tying the playing field 1-1.
Yeah, the door was open just ever so slightly with that combo from FlyingTuna, but with that miss, it is shut just as quickly, and South Korea not going to be too worried about this one. This was not a pick they expected to win, so they're going to shrug this one off, go right into their second pick, and they're not going to feel too bad about dropping this one. It is tied up 1-1 this time around, so South Korea don't have that same pressure to get a break point later on in the match, and they're going to be able to breathe a little bit easier with that in mind. Now, they have quite a few pick options. There were quite a few maps that went well for them. But I think for the next pick, you're going to want to go for one of those maps that they won by quite a bit on. And to me, that's either going to be one of the Hard Rocks that Allegrissimo looked fantastic on, or potentially the Hard Rock one. Now, that was a break point. I think South Korea could leave that up, expecting USA to potentially pick it later on in the match. But so many good options here, right? Hard Rock 3, Hard Rock 2 if Allegrissimo is feeling good. Otherwise, just go back to the Hidden 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're probably going to see a lot of the first picks for both of these teams be relatively similar. Aside from that DT4, that was such a surprise pick for South Korea. I really expected either the Hidden 2 or Hidden 3 as a first pick, so would not be surprised at all to see them pick into that here for their second pick. We didn't see the Hidden 1 touched. We did not see the Nomad 1 touched in the previous match. So maybe we see those at some point, but no, it's just going to be the Hidden 3. Same second pick for South Korea here, and one that worked out for them very well, but notably off the back of a fantastic score for worst HR player, 850k nearly. For a worst HR player on this map. The next best score on the side of South Korea was Karcher at 450k. And FlyingTuna having to step in for that one and dropping 240k meant that the relatively high top 3 scores from the USA in 500k, 500k, and 475k are really, really scary when you look at overall team consistency on a pick like this. This is really dependent on worst HR player continuing to pop off, and in the second half of Grand Finals, during that first bout, we really saw a lot of the rest of South Korea stepping up in his place. We saw worst HR players start to take a bit of a backseat in the match the later it went on, and so I think the question is, can worst HR player replicate that score, or can the rest of South Korea continue to step up? Can they continue to perform to that level that is needed to beat out a team with the kind of consistently high scores that USA has on this map?
Yep, very well said. And I think we are going to see worst HR player step up on this map. Whether or not he can match the score from last time around remains to be seen, but the reason we saw worst HR doing so well early on is because South Korea picks early on as much as they can for worst HR player. Then, as they run out of worst HR player maps later on into the match, we don't see those massive carry performances quite as much, but for the time being, when you still have picks like the Hidden 3, the Hard Rock 3 Open, that's where you're going to see worst HR player shine. And what is so nice for South Korea this time is they have Amamya Kokoro. FlyingTuna, it looks like we're getting FlyingTuna in the lobby over... Okay. Over, I mean, I'm not sure who else would play it, but did bottom score last time, and so this is the 4. Kokoro, Karcher, worst HR player, and Tuna up against Kama, Taquito, Vaxei, Rectigon. And I think keep your eyes on Taquito, keep your eyes on worst HR player. These are going to be the 2 big carries. These are going to be the 2 players to pull out the big combos. Requiem for the Aura. Here we go.
What are we going to see from this one? Will history repeat itself, or are we going to see a contrast? USA have shown prominent potential to perform a breakpoint on this, despite this being quite significantly on paper being in South Korea's favor. The potential from all 4 of these United States players are very, very threatening. Could we see an overperformance here from worst HR player once again, setting a fantastic precedent for this team? Or will the United States be able to claw something back and bring the first breakpoint of this bracket reset? Here we go. Early stream build-up section here, looking good on the side of both teams, really. An early drop from both Karma and worst HR player. Karcher with a super duper early break, literally the first few patterns of the map leading to a drop there. But there's another Dormir there from South Korea. Karcher and FlyingTuna go down, go into this next Isekai section. This is where we're going to see the first ramp up here, where breaks are very, very prominent. Early stage drops here from Tuna and Karcher aren't going to be too big of a deal when we're already so early into this big section. That double from the United States is going to be really big from Vaxei and Taquito. Amamya Kokoro, though, he's going to go down, and the United States are going to start building this advantage further and further. Where's HR player once again being the last man standing here for South Korea? You've still got Rectigon and Karma looking great in this combo. FlyingTuna goes down once again, approaching this halfway mark. Amamya Kokoro, another drop here. South Korea as a team are just not looking good. It seems to be reminiscent once again of the worst HR player effect. The Karma goes down though, and it's Rectigon up against worst HR player in this final third. This could get really, really dicey. If Rectigon or worst HR player are to drop very, very soon and the other holds, this could flip immediately in each team's favor.
Yeah, Rectigon holding the full combo, though, for the United States, and a 300,000 score lead in their favor. It's that overall team consistency coming back to bite South Korea once again. Look at the supporting combos on everyone else. Taquito and Kama finally drop, but those were big supporting combos. FlyingTuna is going to trade it as well, so it's not that big of a combo advantage for South Korea. There goes Vaxei, there goes FlyingTuna, and Amamya Kokoro. Rectigon also dropping now. It's Karcher and worst HR player to hold on to the combos. Can they continue to go? It's 250k plus in the 222 BPM stream section. Can they continue to hold? No. But worst HR player misses at the end of the map, and even then, I'm not sure if there would have been enough time. It's going to be the USA winning it regardless. Karcher, to his credit, hits the slider stream at the end. Same for Amamya Kokoro. And with only 66k in the United States' favor, I think that would have been enough had worst HR player held, but it's just not enough. He finds the slider break near the end of the map, and disaster once again early on for South Korea as they drop the breakpoint on their second pick in that Hidden 3. A map where we saw one of the biggest carries from worst HR player in the first bout of Grand Finals, unable to replicate that kind of performance despite his best efforts. 660k, but outdone by Rectigon with a 700k pop-off, 200k score higher than he was able to get in the first round of Grands.
They needed another 30 combo on worst HR player. It's all it would have taken. but this is deja vu once again. It is an early breakpoint given up for South Korea. The United States looking to move to 3-1 with the free mod 2 pick. It is, of course, that other quite speedy pick in the pool at 245 BPM speed tech. And to our surprise, South Korea looked quite good on it. They only lost to the USA by, I believe it was about 150,000. So yes, it's still a USA favored pick, but we've seen that if South Korea gets a high roll, they can put up a good score on it, and we're going to get the no mod 4 instead. So forget free mod 2, forget the heavy tapping. We're getting right into no mod 4. This was the final pick of the last match, and if you guys remember, it was a USA win, but not by much. It was just under 200,000, and this is another very coin flippy pick. This one was largely off the back of Vaxei, who continues to put up insane scores on this pick. I think if South Korea can find one person to match Vaxei's score, likely going to expect that to be worst HR player, they can take this point.
And I will correct a little bit. This was even closer than you said, iFlame. This was a score difference of 50k in the previous match. I mean, we've seen South Korea pick the DT4, which they lost by, what, 39k in the first match, and win it here against the United States. Now, the United States picking a map they won by only 50k as their second pick. And honestly, I'm here for it. These are some spicy picks. These are some very close maps that we've already seen, and they're giving them to us early in this match. Vaxei top scoring with 650k. Worst HR player getting the best score for Korea with the S rank 627k. If they perform to that level again, it comes down to the supporting scores. You had ever so slightly better middle scores for Rectigon and Kama over FlyingTuna and Karcher, but again, the cumulative team score difference is 50k, so one slider break, one miss can make all the difference on a map like this. And we have seen as well some of these players in Grand Finals drop ridiculous scores on this map before as well. Vaxei got 734k on this against Australia. If he replicates that kind of performance, then this suddenly looks like a whole different sort of map between the USA and Korea, with the United States out in front by several 100,000 points. So let's see if that Vaxei can show up once again for the United States and secure a 3-1 lead, or whether South Korea can bring up the average or can find that pop-off on worst HR player and tie us up 2-2 once again in this map.
Let's see, and last time around, don't forget, it was worst HR player with the only S rank on the map. It was one slider break, and that slider break could very easily be the difference here.
222 BPM, some really ridiculous slider shapes and slider aim in the start here. They still are difficult in the second half, but a bit of a change in mapping style with far more of a mechanics focus, more aim, more streams, still primarily tech, but a lot of different skill sets mixed into the second half of this map. How well you handle that change in playstyle, that change in what the map is testing, can become the difference maker on this sort of pick. Kama, and just Kama, actually, with the early break on one of those slider jumps. There's a Bancho miss on the side of Karcher. Takedo finding an early drop as well now, so early combo lead over to the side of South Korea. That intro section, 300 combo. So that's a bit of a significant combo lead for South Korea right now. Accuracy lead not doing them many favors for the USA, but the combo lead with South Korea giving them this early score lead. Now Rectigon's gone as well. It's just Vaxei. Worst HR player and Karcher will drop as well. It's Algoritmo and FlyingTuna with the combos in the first third of this map, matching the FC out of Vaxei and the supporting score out of Takedo. It's a lead for South Korea, but it's only by 50k about a third of the way through now.
FlyingTuna goes down as soon as that sentence is finished here, Dio. Vaxei still holds on. You can never let this guy go. He is terrifying on maps like these. Algoritmo's doing everything he can to keep it suppressed, and so far, he's doing a phenomenal job. Multiple combos from both teams are falling apart here. These recoveries from South Korea, though, are going to lean in their favor. 70,000 score. Algoritmo has got to suppress Vaxei, the star player for this team, one of the greatest tournament players of all time. He's building and building, going in to the next hardest part of this map. Algoritmo is all up to him. to suppress an unstoppable freight train. Karma goes down on a very slow section, giving South Korea more favorable matchups here for this recovery combo. Karcher and ZxNX play looking great despite that drop previously. 496, 500 combo from both players respectively. FlyingTuna, despite that early drop, still looking good, going up to 250 combo and climbing, but we are going into the hardest part of the map. 1 second drops on and Vaxei still is going through. 3 misses on the side of South Korea. It's all up to worst HR player now to try and suppress something. Karma goes down again, but Vaxei remains untouched, but down he goes. That's a big combo from the United States now gone. Rectagon, the last man standing. Karma and Takino both go down, but worst HR player still holds strong. Once again, this guy refuses to back down. He may drop, I don't think there's going to be enough time. It's slowly shrinking here for the United States, but there's only barely enough time of the map left, and South Korea will bounce back with a breakpoint of their own. 2-2.
They get it right back, not a moment to waste, and this pick does not work out for the USA. I thought it would be worst HR player trying to max Vaxei, but this time around it is Allegrissimo. Starting from the second half of the last match, Allegrissimo has been on an absolute tear, really stepping up for South Korea, keeping them in this one. That is just a massive performance, showing up when it matters, and now South Korea not going down 3-1 this time. It is all tied up, and they can hold on to their lead with their next pick. They have quite a few good options left. You look to the Hidden 2, you look to the Hard Rock 3. Those are looking like good picks, and USA, they wish they could have that pick back.
They really wish they could, and if you're familiar with the tourney scene and the memes that abound within it, you're familiar with the one of the guy on the cell phone and the white background black text at the top that says, "Put Allegrissimo back in." South Korea put him in for the Nomad 4, and he delivers. The entirety of the Snapchat is just spamming that GIF right now, and it could not be more accurate. This is one hell of a grand finals already. I am so psyched to see what the rest of this match brings us, as it has been a back and forth between these teams, a heated battle in this Grands, and I think it's going to stay that way with how well these teams keep playing. You know, one of the things that we talk about when we talk about Grand Finals bracket resets is fatigue. I don't know exactly which team has an advantage there, but when you warm up to play a Grand Finals, when you warm up to play a tournament match, you're warming up for maybe an hour or two before the match, and now you've got a potentially 3-hour-long match, so you have to be able to play for a very long time. And maybe that fatigue starts to settle in, especially for a team like the United States. Picks for South Korea as it gets into a more comfortable time for them and a more uncomfortable time for the United States. Maybe we start to see that play into the match a little bit, but for now, early on into the bracket reset, third pick for South Korea, we get the Hidden 2. We saw this in the first round. It was the worst HR player show for sure, and this one was a solo carry pop-off of over 600k for worst HR player and a nearly 300,000 score difference in the favor of South Korea. Very, very good scores from Amamya Kokoro and FlyingTuna as well. I would not be surprised to see Restia sub out for somebody, maybe a player like Karcher, but I think with the history of this roster on low approach rate hidden, it's probably going to still be Restia on this map.
Yeah, Restia is not quite comfortable on this map, was 88% accuracy, 150,000, but they trust worst HR player. You can tell how much trust they have. They say, you got 650k last time, we believe in you to do it again. We don't need the fourth player on this map, and they're looking to be in a pretty good spot. They won it by about 300,000 last time, and what makes this match so exciting, Dio, is that every map is so close, and all these players are so good that any one of them could put up an extra 200, 300 combo on any given map compared to the last one, and all of a sudden, the map turns on its head, expectations are flipped, and the points are not what you expect. We are going to see Boshiman, Fire Rage, Takedo, and Vaxei once again. It was a solid team performance all around, but the team scores range from 270k to 350, and it's just not enough to match worst HR player. And I think it really has to be Takedo who tries to match, but as great as Takedo is as hidden, definitely isn't known so much for the low AR hidden as much as a lot of the dedicated hidden mains are. And so that's going to hurt the US a little bit, not having that very, very clear carry player that's ready to pop off. Here we go, though, into Replica. Will this be the worst HR player show, or will we get a third breakpoint?
Once again, South Korea going into a staple pick of theirs, the Hidden 2. Again, we mentioned this like the last match before bracket reset. USA do still have a very threatening team like this on paper. Boshiman and Fiery Rage were made for maps like these. Really, really strong on this kind of gimmick, but it is worst HR player to be the man to look out for here, being the star outstanding player in this. 600,000 score, nearly double the next highest score in the entire lobby. You are looking at this guy to once again do miracles here for South Korea. He may drop down towards this early stage along with Amamya Kokoro and Restia for South Korea. FlyingTuna, though, does still hold on to his full combo. On the side of the United States, though, it is looking a much better for them. Fire Rage and Boshiman doing their job and holding on to some good combo, contesting FlyingTuna. And on the side of the rest of the United States, you've got Takedo with 200 combo. Vaxei may drop, but it's still decently close. You've got FlyingTuna still holding on with that drop from Fire Rage and from Boshi. Double miss from the United States towards this early start. FlyingTuna may trade it, but these recoveries are starting to lean slightly towards the favor of South Korea. But the longer this build is going to go back for the United States over time. Whereas the chart player is now the leading combo here for South Korea, and we're about to get into the Ki where stuff could get really, really tough, and that's where you're relying on these recoveries. Amamya Kokoro goes down. No other trades, it does seem, until Takedo and Fire Rage go down. South Korea now leaning, holding on to this advantage. Restaurant may go down. It's going back and forth quite a bit. Another drop from Fire Rage, another drop from Wesley Char player. It's so back and forth here. No established advantage is being secured. We're not seeing that superstar score here from Wesley Char player. It's the collective teamwork making the dream work for both of these teams. Vaxei holding on to great combo here for the United States. 400 combo and climbing now. FlyingTuna's doing what he can to contest, and these recoveries in the United States are going to start building in their favor as long as there's no fall apart.
There's a little bit of fall apart for South Korea, though. Amamya Kokoro and FlyingTuna both dropping there. You cannot have those big combos drop over and over again for South Korea. Restia as well, continuing to have the trouble that we saw on this map the first time around. And it's just Vaxei popping off this time for the United States. A player whose max combo the first time this was played was 279. Now up above 600 combo for the United States, and worst HR player just not having at all the same kind of performance that we saw in the first bout of Grand Finals. And that break from Vaxei I don't even think is going to matter. There's no combo on the side of South Korea to pull back what is now a nearly 150,000 score lead. Boshiman and Fiery are going to keep missing, so maybe we can start to see this come back a little bit, but it's going to require some serious pop-offs from South Korea on the ending of this map, and worst HR player missing again is not what they need at the moment. Takedo and Boshi and Fiery are all going to reset against just worst HR player and Restia, so it's Vaxei versus now just Amamya Kokoro for South Korea. The score lead has gone down, but only to 120,000 score, and it's continuing now to climb in the favor of USA. Fiery Takedo dropping is going to bring that over a little bit. There goes Vaxei, but unfortunately, there's just no combo on the side of South Korea. That's a 93k score advantage. The ending of this map is still the hardest part. It is very chain missable. Do we see USA drop chain misses and the score go over, or do we see South Korea lose this pick as well in 4 breakpoints in a row? And everyone, it seems, struggling with this pick. USA a little bit more, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough to bring it over to the side of South Korea. Worst HR player is hitting everything in this ending, but Boshi is hitting enough, Takedo is hitting enough, and that is going to do it for this map. It looks like not even going down that score lead at all. 100k for the United States by the end of it. 3-2 off the back of a breakpoint yet again.
The score is just not there for worst HR player this time around. On top of that, Vaxei absolutely popping off in the middle of this map to get the 744 combo is enough for USA to secure the breakpoint, and we are seeing breakpoints traded back and forth. There are no breaks, and surely the USA now has to try and settle things down a little bit. Just go back to comfort with that free mod 2 that you expect them to be so good on. You need to, at some point, stop giving up these breakpoints. Find a way to win your own picks. Find some security, some consistency somewhere. And it is nerve-wracking for all of these players. You can see, I think, the frustration settling in with worst HR player just a little bit into that second half of the map. You saw A little bit of a cursor dance towards the end. Clearly not happy with the play, but South Korea gonna need to take some time to recover here. Take a breather and just focus on the next map, one map at a time.
Yeah, it's a rough part of the bracket reset now for South Korea, and I think one of the big things that I want to talk about right here is the change in how these teams played from the first set to the second, because in the first half of the grand finals that we saw between South Korea and the United States, that first matchup in grand finals, worst HR player was an absolute demon. I mean, we made jokes comparing him to Faker. He was top scoring every map he was in for South Korea. Now it seems like it's the opposite. Worst HR player, yeah, did top score the DT4, but has been having trouble since, has not been able to replicate the types of performances that we saw from him on some of the maps where he needed to, like the Hidden 3 and this Hidden 2 now. And unfortunately, it's led to a couple of breakpoints for the United States. They are going to pick this free mod 1, and this was an absolutely dominating win for the United States in the first bout of Grand Finals, an over 900k score difference. South Korea picked this, and it backfired hard in the first bout of Grand Finals. USA say, thank you very much, we'll take that pick for ourselves and use it against you in the bracket reset.
Yeah, it was an absolute bloodbath last time around. There was just no high combos on the side of the South Korea. Things fell apart pretty much from the beginning. And in the meantime, you had Rectigon with the casual Hard Rock FC. You had a three-way FC into the halfway point of the map, and the USA have put up consistent 2.8, 2.9 million scores. South Korea's score was nowhere close, and they're going to need a monumental improvement into this map if they want any chance of beating the USA here. And this is USA trying to finally consolidate the breakpoint, trying to finally take a stranglehold of some kind of advantage in this match and break the trend of these traded breakpoints. We do see all the same players in the lobby. Of course, as usual, we're going to see Rectigon, Hard Rock, Taquito hidden, and on the side of South Korea, we're just going to be going back to Karcher on the Hard Rock, and I think we are likely to see Kokoro on the hidden again, try and once again let worst HR player have an easier time on the map, put up that big combo, and we haven't necessarily seen it in the past couple maps, but I think the pressure is definitely on worst HR player this time around. Really interesting that we see Window Life in as well this time around on the Nomad once again.
Yeah, narratives have been shattered several times now in this bracket reset match. Breakpoint after breakpoint after breakpoint, man. I mean, this was the most one-sided map of the previous match here for the United States. So assuming things stayed to plan here for the USA, this is going to once again be a victory for them. They're going to be 2 points up against South Korea, hugely advantageous for them. But there's still quite a big, tough ask to go here. This is the free mod 1, very consistent, 4 minutes long. You've got a lot of combo to build up if you want to make a valuable impact on this. And so far, so good for both teams. First blood goes to Window Life. But outside of that, the rest of these teams, all 7 players, looking very, very good. This combo advantage leading in favor of South Korea going into this first Ki. Here's where we could see the first few set drops here. Only drop remains to be Window Life here for the United States. South Korea still building good. Karcher on that Hard Rock looking good, but he's going to go down as soon as I speak. Down Karcher goes, but it is traded by a subsequent Hard Rock combo here in Rectigon. You've still got advantage South Korea. Karcher goes down once again, but that's not the one you want. Still 3 full combos here for South Korea. And Vaxei joins the drops here. Worst HR player does trade it though. 2 versus 1. Window Life goes down again, but Taquito still holds with that hidden combo. Amamya Kokoro and FlyingTuna suppressing the singular combo that is Taquito past this next Ki.
Shiba Amamya Kokoro was the top scorer for South Korea when they played this map against the United States in the previous bout of Grand Finals. FlyingTuna dropped about 500k on the Nomad, but it was Amamya Kokoro with the only score for them above 600k. And with these breaks in the first half from both Rectigon and Vaxei, they're not going to be able to put up the same kinds of ridiculous combos that we saw from them in that first match when this was played earlier. It's up to Taquito now for the United States. The score lead for South Korea is very, very small. It is all dependent on these big combos for Amamya Kokoro and FlyingTuna right now. But there goes Taquito. That's the 1 full combo down now for the United States against the 2-way FC intact for South Korea. This felt like the safest pick available for the United States. 903,139 points was the score difference, with a 2 miss on Hard Rock, over 1 mil for Replica when they played this the first time around. He's going to break. Amamya Kokoro and FlyingTuna will drop. Vaxei and Window Life are holding the combo, but it's matched by Karcher and Worst HR Player. And even if this turns out to be a close map, with how well Karcher and Worst HR Player are holding these combos, it's still going to be score advantage and potential combo advantage to South Korea. But there goes Karcher! It's Vaxei and Window Life now, the double no-mod for the United States, holding these big combos against just Worst HR Player for South Korea. And this score lead that seemed all but secured is now extremely tenuous for the Koreans.
This is getting really, really tight. Vaxei and Window Life have got an opportunity of a lifetime to pull an insane comeback to what looked like a surefire victory for South Korea past the next half of the map. It's all up to Worst HR Player to keep his team anchored going into this next key eye. You've got some good recoveries here, respectively from Takedo and Rectagon, to help support Vaxei and Window Life into the next endeavor. But they've got to hold on. Here's where the difficulty starts to ramp up to its max. Karcher and Rectagon both go down. Both the hard rock combos, not too ideal for South Korea. It's going to slowly start inching, but Window Life goes down. Traded by Amamya Kokoro. Takedo and FlyingTuna duking it out. Takedo with a tiny advantage. Slowly edging towards the United States here. Takedo goes down though, and that's big! South Korea finally have leeway take this lead. Worst HR Player once again leading the charge, holding on to 1,000 combo and climbing towards the late stage when he matters the most. He is the one to pull the miraculous clutch. With the spike dropping towards the start, he doesn't care. He's hitting the most important parts of the map, and the script writers are Michelin star chefs in this one. The most one-sided match previously by 900,000 for the United States will go to the way of South Korea.
Expectations be damned. The script has been flipped on its head as Worst HR Player is back. Worst HR Player puts up the 650k, matching Vaxei, and it is yet another breakpoint. Forget the expectations. They do not matter any longer. Every pick could go to any team. Nothing makes sense anymore. As South Korea, after losing the free mod 1 by 900,000, win it this time around. I don't know what to expect from this match. Maybe South Korea just has to pick the free mod 2 this time around. Every pick is backwards, Dio.
It's 4 breaks. It's 4 breakpoints in a row, gentlemen. These teams won their first picks and then proceeded to breakpoint each other 4 times in a row.
Oh my God.
The confidence in how good any of these picks are for either team has got to be below the floor at this point, right? We're down in the basements in terms of how well last match is correlated with this one, right? We've seen flips on wins across the board, hidden 3, hidden 2, going the way of the United States when they were won in dominating fashion by South Korea the first time around. DT4, the first pick for South Korea, was a USA win in the previous matchup. The only map that follows what we've seen so far really is the DT3, and that's it. So if that's any indication, it means maybe USA should pick the free mod 2 finally, and maybe South Korea does have the leg up on that free mod 2 that they lost the first time around, but it's going to be the Hard Rock 3, and this one I think maybe we can expect to follow what happened in the previous matchup with this one. This is, as we discussed previously, probably the highest skill cap map in the pool. It is a really, really difficult pick. We saw Worst HR Player get over 600k on this, and the supporting scores for South Korea in Karcher and Allegrissimo both above 300k, outdoing anyone not named Rectagon on the side of the United States. So this was a very good pick for South Korea as a team, which is why I think this pick makes a lot of sense for South Korea. Worst HR Player has been still top scoring maps that he's in for, but not by the kinds of margins we saw in the first bout of Grand Finals, right? In the first bout, he was Faker 2013. This time around, he's more like Faker 2023, right? He's still got the ridiculous skill required to put up good scores, but the team is there to support him this time around, and that's what's been winning South Korea their picks in this bracket reset. Let's see if they can continue doing that on what is effectively 175 BPM Gengao Zofun, mapped by KTG-ster. This is another OS original in the pool by level 4, Burning Star.
You can never count out Worst HR Player, and this time around we are going to get Kokoro in the lobby over FlyingTuna, who was forced to join the lobby due to Kokoro having some disconnection issues. We saw the double disconnection into the abort, forcing Tuna into the lobby, who did end up bottom scoring with 229k. Now with Kokoro in, you can expect an extra, realistically, 80k plus, in addition to HR3, but you cannot count out the United States either, not when you have players like Rectigon and Kama on this Hard Rock. Rectigon especially has been an absolute beast, putting up big combos time and time again on the Hard Rock. And here we go, Burning Star, I'll say it again. Hopefully the star burns bright for worst HR player. We'll see if he can put up another big combo. We'll see if Kokoro can put up a better score than Tuna to make the difference here. Can South Korea finally take a point? I'd like to say they can, but clearly we don't know anything. Here we go into the Hard Rock 3.
Hard Rock 3, baby. I mean, we could say what everyone is thinking. On paper, South Korea are 100% the control favorite team on this map, but we have seen our expectations be blown, not even out of the water, into the stratosphere at this point, into the deep depths of space, probably into another solar system at this point. So anything can happen with this one. An early stages so far looking very good for South Korea, but not by too much here. Maybe not very good, actually. A double miss from both players respectively, but that accuracy advantage is going to lead in favor of South Korea. 2-2 in the FC department going past this first quarter of the map. This difficulty consistency on this is absolutely absurd, and we're going to be building into this little wiggle section here. Amamya Kokoro was a chart player for South Korea, Karma and Vaxei for USA. Karma goes down, advantage South Korea, and this section is going to really matter for South Korea as long as those two major combos stay alive.
Let's see if they can hold on strong through this part of the map. It's Vaxei with the full combo for the United States. Karcher and Allegrisimo both going down in this part. Kama's going to drop again, but that's not the one you need to drop. It's Vaxei with the drop for USA now. Allegrisimo drops Amamya Kokoro to follow, and it's worst HR player versus the world. Takedo to drop. It's just Rectigon now for the United States, and this 1v1's in the favor of Korea. It's worst HR player continuing the form he held in the first bout of Grand Finals with the combo still intact. 99.3 accuracy. What is he doing? God. This is a monstrous score from worst HR player already, and he's cresting 1,000 combo with well over 99% accuracy. You look at the entire rest of the lobby, there are 3 players above 97. In the entire rest of the lobby, he's the only one who can really, truly pop off on this map, and he's gonna make full advantage of it. When people call maps forum maps, this is what the hell they're talking about.
What is this score from worst HR player? The rest of the lobby is falling apart. Vaxei's the only potential combo that you can even fight, consider on. But worst HR player is blowing the world away. The world is watching an absolutely mesmerizing play. One of the best scores, maybe, of the tournament. 800,000 scoring climbing. Worst HR player has the chance to close this out in absolute monumental style. Can he do the impossible? There's barely any map left. There's only a little bit left to go. Worst HR player, can you make history with this? This will be the best score of the tournament if you hit this. Worst HR player, hit this ending. Worst HR player, come on. Little bit left to go. Worst HR player.
Oh my god.
1,800 combo and a full combo for worst HR player. This is truly the pinnacle of Osu World Cup performances.
That score's not okay. This is... Look, we saw him Hard Rock full combo Blue Zenith in semifinals.
Yep.
This is way better of a score than even the Hard Rock FC on Blue Zenith. We've seen well over 700 PP in match during this World Cup. Doesn't matter whatsoever. Score of the tournament. The next best score in the whole lobby was 430k from Vaxei.
I mean, forget score of the tournament, Dio. I genuinely think this might be the best score in Osu World Cup history. That is just absurd. The accuracy is insane. The combo is insane. Forget Faker 2023. Subtract 10 years. Worst HR player is back, and worst HR player restores some sanity to this match as South Korea finally take their own point. Can worst HR player be stopped? United States are going to look to put a stop to that with their next pick. Are we finally going to see the Fremont 2, or are they going to hold off on that one? They do still have the Hard Rock 2 as well. They have some options, but we did see Amamya Kokoro popping off on the Hard Rock 2 along with Karcher last time it was picked, so would certainly be a risky one. And it feels like at this point, with how close every map has been, there are no safe picks left in the pool. Any pick could go either way. All it takes is one player to pop off to make the difference. All that's left that feels somewhat safe is that Fremont 2 for the USA. There it is, finally, the pick we've all been waiting for, and we're going to see the same rosters as previously, but I think this is the best pick remaining for the Fremont 2. After this Fremont 2 pick, everything's up in the air. Anything can happen, and there are no clear picks left for either team. We are, of course, going to be seeing Recti Taquito, as always, on the Hard Rock Hidden. These are the two players that make the United States Fremont roster so terrifying. They are the best of the best, and of course, Kokoro coming in along with Karcher and worst HR player. We'll see if they can pull it off this time around. Korea very nearly won this breakpoint last time around. I think it was 200,000 points, much closer than anybody expected. And all it takes, as I've said, one combo from any player on South Korea could be enough to take this one.
It was not even 200k iFlame. It was 142,000 score, the difference between these two teams on this map last time around. This is, and we call this kind of a gimme pick for the United States, but with how close this was, I don't really think that's the case. They need to be on their toes for this sort of map. You saw what happened on the Fremont 1. This can easily go the other way. The USA underperformed on that Fremont 1 by about 700,000 score, and that is how South Korea, with about a 200k improvement, was able to take the point. And then, of course, we saw the best score in World Cup history, only 600 PP, by the way, like 693 PP on that Hard Rock 3 play, despite it being, by and large, considered the hardest map in the pool, and not even close. So, just a ridiculous performance on that Hard Rock 3, and now let's see how well South Korea has prepared their speed roster. Parisia coming back in, Karcher coming back in, FlyingTuna coming back in, who was holding pretty big combo on this last time around, and finally Restia coming back in for this one for South Korea. Restia going to be taking the Hidden. In fact, top scored with Hidden for South Korea last time around. Dropped about 550k with 99 AC on this. It's really on the rest of the South Korean roster to bring up those scores to the next level if they want to win this pick against the United States. Window Life on that Nomad dropping 600k. Rectigon on that hard drop dropping 500k. This is what you need to compete against for South Korea if you want to take this breakpoint and secure a 5-3 advantage in bracket reset.
This United States roster is absolutely devastating. This is the second map we've seen Wadchi make an appearance. Last time he played was on that double time 3, and he performed very, very well, matching the rest of his team and setting a great precedent on this mechanics. Him coming back around for this is going to be very, very valuable on the Nomad. Rectagon and Taquito, of course, being the staple Fremont players for this team. This map is really brutal, extremely unforgiving in this stamina. One of the more brutal ones of the pool here, and it's going to lead to an early drop here from Parisia, alongside some very, very early drops from Restia and FlyingTuna towards the start of the map. Outside of that, USA all marching ahead with a full combo past that first difficulty section, and SS from Window Life. Incredible consistency and control on this one, man. Great start here for the USA. South Korea unfortunately faltering there with a drop from FlyingTuna on the Hidden Hard Rock, might I add. The hardest double set of mods to do. FlyingTuna seeming to have taken a bold choice here. Unfortunately not working out so far, but there's still 2/3 of the map to go. But USA are going to start flying ahead with this next difficulty ramp up section.
And this is the type of mod strategy you used to see back in the day, is I think FlyingTuna tanking the Hard Rock for Karcher so that Karcher can just play this Nomad, not have to deal with that increased circle size, and maybe get a more consistent, higher score on this map. Lower OD with Nomad, but the same approach rate. Can they hold on through this streamy section? It's FlyingTuna and Rectigon to drop. That drop from Rectigon and Taquito now as well for the United States. Massive in this stream section. FlyingTuna is going to keep dropping, yeah, but now there goes Parisia. That's finally a big drop for South Korea, but Karcher matching Window Life. Restia more than matching the combo from Woochi. This is a big combo advantage for South Korea. If we can see Parisia start to be a little bit more consistent on that no mod, the tank mod player in FlyingTuna is just not going to matter when you have these other big combos on the side of South Korea. And Restia is just popping off on this still with that super high combo. 98 AK on the hidden. Can South Korea bring this back with just a quarter of the map left?
There's only a little bit of time left here. Window Life, last man standing here for the United States, the lone soldier. You've got Replica giving a little bit of backup left. This strategy from South Korea might just work. FlyingTuna holding on to the hidden hard rock, tanking as much as he can to give his teammates the boost that they need. Restia, Karcher, can you hold this on to the end? It's slowly flipping towards the end, but it's flickering just barely. Window Life goes down. Giant break. That has to be decided now for South Korea. Karcher and Restia refuse to let this go. They will not back down. And Karcher ends this off with an FC. South Korea alongside Restia and Karcher. The strategy that worked so incredibly perfect, exactly as planned. Textbook stuff. South Korea get the biggest breakpoint of the match by far.
That is a strategic masterclass from South Korea on the free mod. Tank the hidden hard rock, put Karcher on the no mod, and look what he does. Pulls out the FC, secures the point for South Korea, and all of a sudden, they are 2 maps away from ending the streak of dominance from the United States. The 2 points away from becoming the 2023 OSU World Champion, but it is far from over yet. There are still maps to be played, and the USA still has a lot of wiggle room back into this one. South Korea needs to keep up their performance, but after a play like that, they have got to be feeling confident. It only goes up from here. They have the next pick, and if they pick properly, they could very, very easily put themselves on match point. We're early enough into this match that South Korea has picks left. They won the Hard Rock 2. I believe they won the Hard Rock 1 as well. Amamya Kokoro was absolutely assert on the Hard Rocks, and if Amamya Kokoro can put up a similar performance, the USA might just be out of luck. The USA can only afford to lose one more pick throughout the rest of this match. Hard Rock 1 and Hard Rock 2, they have to find one of those wins this time around. They need to step up. Their back's against the wall, but if anyone can do it, it is the USA. They are full of tournament veterans. Vaxei, Rectigon, even Taquito are so good under pressure. They have been here many times before. They have won the tiebreakers. You look back to the tiebreaker match against UK where they ended up winning. You look back to even Poland where they unfortunately did not win, but I believe that one went to tiebreaker as well. They've been here before, and it is going to be Cookie Bouquets Hard Rock 2. It was an Allegrissimo carry last time around, 800,000, but even then, I believe it was only about 300,000 points the difference, so by no means a guaranteed win for South Korea. We're going to see the rosters filled out. Oh, go ahead.
And I think you've got it is 600k the score difference actually for South Korea on that one, according to the MP link. So I think you may have swapped some scores on your notes. But this this was a big lead for South Korea when they picked this. Yeah. 630k for Amamya Kokoro, 450k as well for Karcher, and 422k for worst HR players. So person per person, member for member, South Korea ahead on all accounts on this map. Not quite as dominant as what we've seen, for example, on the DT3 from USA, where all 4 members are better than even the best score from South Korea. But this is a pretty dominant pick, all things considered, for South Korea if you look at the last match. So this is going to be one where the USA really needs something magical to happen here. Avoid going down match point. And for South Korea, if they can replicate even one of those big scores from Allegrissimo and Amamya Kokoro, or if we can see Karcher or worst HR player find the magic themselves and hold combo through the middle section of the map where those circle streams don't exist, that's where you can start to see some really big pop-offs for a lot of these players. Because the hardest parts of this map are really those circle pentagon streams at the very start and about 3/4 of the way through the map. So if you can combo everything in between that, you should be able to get a pretty good score on this map overall.
And that's what's so scary about this map. Karcher infamous for the Hard Rock precision, how good he is on those, and yet he was the 3rd best scorer for South Korea last time this was picked. If you get even a little bit better score for Karcher, things look rough for the USA very quickly. Mind you, they did put up 2.1 million against Australia off the back of Rectigon absolutely popping off with 99.28 accuracy, so we know Rectigon has the potential. I believe that was a 1 miss as well from Rectigon against Australia, and so we know Rectigon can put up good scores, and if War State Rectigon can match Allegrissimo, the USA could take this one as well, right? There are no free picks left in this pool. And while we did see USA struggle a little bit earlier today, we've seen scores improve. We've seen scores get much worse. And so South Korea needs to keep up this consistency, and the pressure is going to be on. The nerves are going to be crazy as they know how much is on the line. They know they can, if they win this pick, they are going to be in a prime position to win the World Championship. And they know as well, if the United States win this one, the United States will have a fantastic door back into this one. We should get the players back into the lobby shortly. It is going to be Karcher back in along with Allegrissimo for South Korea, as well as the 2 players already in the lobby. On the side of the United States, we are without a doubt going to be seeing Bashi, Kama, Vaxei, and Rectigon, those 2 core players for the United States. And as we get settled in, this map, I will remind you, is not necessarily your standard Hard Rock 2 map. There are 0 objects in the middle of the playfield, and the middle of the playfield tends to be much more comfortable of a position for mouse players as well as tablet players. It is just so much easier than having to aim towards the outsides, and so this map being all objects surrounding the outside of the map makes it quite uncomfortable to play through the whole map. Here we go into Cookie Bouquet. 8 players in the lobby. Only 4 will survive and claim a point here.
Let's see who's able to bring it home. Is it the United States with yet another breakpoint in this match, trying to tie up South Korea after this on their next pick? Or is it South Korea bringing us to an early match point 6-3 after consolidating a breakpoint and winning their own afterwards? We'll see how it goes. Kama with an early drop for the United States. Rectigon dropping early as well. Only 1 player from South Korea missing on that first circle stream, but it's Allegrissimo. Worst to try play. Actually a 4-way reset for South Korea afterwards, and big accuracy lead now for the United States as Boshiman holding the full combo on the double S out of the intro. No troubles whatsoever for the precision gimmick specialist on the side of the United States. You think of precision players from the US and you think of Boshiman. He is pulling it off here. This map over CS7. That is higher circle size than you usually see, but he does find the slider break midway through the map. It is worst HR player with the recovery for South Korea, but look at the combos on the side of the United States. Kama, Vaxei, and Rectigon all holding big combos here, and now it's just Vaxei, Rectigon, but there's not much combo on the side of South Korea. There goes Vaxei, and now maybe we can see some kind of combo consistency from South Korea start to bring back what is already a 250,000 score lead halfway through this map.
This is slowly creeping in favor of South Korea, but after that double miss from Worst Sharplay and Allegrissimo, it's going to start going back in favor of the United States. But a triple miss, I believe that was from the United States. I believe that was a drop from Kama. I believe it's just up to Rectigon now to hold on to these combos. The break is shown. Information is shared. The USA know what they have to close out. Rectigon looks fantastic with this accuracy on top of that great combo, completely outshining the rest of South Korea. These recoveries from South Korea are really valuable, but down goes Rectigon. Amamya Kokoro, last man standing, but down he goes as well. No major combos here for both respective teams, and this is brilliant if you're the United States. 200,000 score going to this ending section is way too far of a deficit for South Korea to build with, and the United States will once again get another breakpoint. These surprises do not stop in this bracket reset match.
No, they do not. Down but not out. The USA find the breakpoint that they needed back. It is 5-4, and the United States, they have the pick to make this one 5-5. They can tie it up, and we could very quickly find ourselves in the exact same position as we did last match, 5-5 with 1 pick left for each team. The United States have to pick properly, though. We have seen so many breakpoints this match, and at this point, you cannot afford to give up any more. The US needs to win both of their picks because South Korea still have options. They still have that Hard Rock won, that they one last map to look to, and so this is going to be the key point. This could decide everything right here. This is where I would expect to see the timeout for the USA if we were going to see it, but they might be confident in their pick. They might want to keep up their momentum after that last win on the Hard Rock 2.
Yeah, that momentum from Hard Rock 2 is so big for the United States. I mean, the first time these teams played this map, it was only 1.7 million team score. The USA improving by 400k, largely off the back of that pop-off from Requiem, but also just better supporting scores from Boshiman and Kama in particular. Boshiman going up by 100,000 score himself, so a huge overperformance from the United States on that pick. And South Korea, you know, if the United States had performed like they did last time around on this map, they would have won by 200k, but not the case this time around. And finally, we're going to see the free mod 4 picked as well from the United States here. This is a pick they've won twice now across the weekend, both against Australia yesterday and against South Korea earlier tonight. Takedo pulling off almost a full combo with Hidden on this map when it was played versus South Korea. Vaxei pulling off the no-mod full combo against Australia. That kind of pop-off potential is huge on a map like this, but the win against South Korea was only by 100,000 points. It was worst HR player with 880k himself on the Hidden, and a 600k score from FlyingTuna to keep it pretty close with what the United States was able to do on this sort of map. So if we can see South Korea pull off those kinds of scores again, this map as well could really go either way for either of these teams. We've said it already during this match, but it doesn't seem like any of these picks are safe for either team. We've seen both team picks go the other way from match to match, and with how evenly matched these teams have shown us they are throughout the night, it is just so difficult to pick correctly, and you see that with just the abundance of breakpoints in this match.
Yeah, we've seen massive scores, as you mentioned, from both Vaxei and Takedo, but it has been in separate matches. It feels like the USA are rolling the dice a little bit, and I feel like that dice roll is in their favor. On one hand, you could very well have both Vaxei and Takedo pop off pullout FCs, and the United States is just hard winning. On the other hand, they could both miss, and all of a sudden, worst HR player takes over. And of course, the third option is that one of them pops off, matches worst HR player, assuming he can put up a similar combo, and things are going to look very close again. So I do think the odds are in the United States' favor this time around, but it is going to be very dependent on worst HR player, because if worst HR player cannot match that score from last time around, you don't really have anyone to be that backup carry for South Korea like you have on the USA. It is worst HR player or bust unless we see somebody else pop off here.
The unwavering potential with this one, ladies and gentlemen. This was a very tight one last time. Just shy of 100,000. It was Takedo for the United States to be the true golden outlier, just outshining worst HR player on a control map like this. On paper, you would expect this to be a map for South Korea. This is the danger with this one, because despite seeing a victory here for the United States, this is a scary aspect. A little bit of a glitch, I believe, in the client, actually. Epics aside, Kama doesn't seem to have any hit circles, and it's still hitting everything. Oh, well, it's fine. We can still see his combo, so we'll just maybe hit a little panic button and hit that little refresh here. But, yeah, this is a shoddy one, a scary one. It's a little bit on the gambly aspect, because both of these teams have performed really well on this. USA have had multiple players who have performed absolutely exceptionally on this. Big linear aim section to come through here. Double miss on the side of South Korea. Karma and Rectagon did trade previously, so it's basically a trade. 50,000 score in favor of the United States. Vaxei and Takedo, the two-star players who have set really good scores on this map, still looking good. But Allegrissimo is trailing them, able to contest at least one. These recoveries from South Korea are still threatening here, but Karma and Rectagon do seem to outshine them for now. FlyingTuna goes down. One combo that you really don't want to see gone with that hidden hard rock, but this could be another strategy to tank with that hard rock ability to give Karcher that room to get the flex that he needs. We're getting close to that one half section here. Difficulty ramp up now. Ki to come through. No drop seemingly here from the United States. This seems to be really anchored here for the USA. Vaxei and Takedo still looking good, but Takedo does go down. That's one full combo gone, and Allegrissimo is able now to contest Vaxei. These recoveries on both teams are really even here. You can have to drop from Vaxei, and down he goes. Timing immaculate for the side of South Korea. It's slowly going to start shrinking now in their favor. Allegrissimo remains completely untouched, and Karma and Wesley Char player are duking it out. Karcher and Rexagon as well. It is just Allegrissimo to hold a differential lead here for South Korea as long as he can hold past this final quarter of the map.
Here we go, into the last third of the map. 93,000 score lead for the United States, but combo advantage for South Korea. Allegrissimo is going to see this combo lead is all on his shoulders. FlyingTuna is going to miss in the slow part. Not going to matter too much. The combo for worst HR player and Karcher is matching the combos from Kama and Rectagon here. Rectagon on that hard rock once again, a top performer even in spite of taking this mod, which makes this map so much more space. The aim on this so difficult in hard rock, but not phasing one of the veteran players for the United States and somebody who is known as potentially the best hard rock player in North America, full stop. Can the United States bring this back? Yeah, there goes Karcher. That's one of the big supporting scores for South Korea down. It's still Allegrissimo to hold the full combo, but the combo lead now back on the side of the United States. Kama and Rectagon still going strong here with Takedo as backup. And there goes Allegrissimo. He drops as well right before the slow slider. You can see the shakes, but Rectagon will trade the drop. It's all worst HR player. Kama and Takedo matching the combo going into the ending. Vaxei on a good supporting combo for the United States as well. This ending the hardest part of the map. The speed up to 330 BPM. Can worst HR player hold and potentially bring this back? And does everyone on the USA miss? Because that's what it's going to take for this map to go Korea's way. Takedo will drop the chain miss. Kama will drop as well, but there goes worst HR player. And that is going to decide it. Vaxei continuing to hold for the United States. He'll full combo the ending and secure the point for the USA. 5-5, tied up once again in the bracket reset. You could not write a better script for this match as we get 5-5 in back-to-back grand finals best of 13s.
Oh my god, you cannot get better than this, can you, iFlame?
You certainly cannot, and we find ourselves back here once again with one pick left for each team. The United States have one pick, South Korea have the next pick, and both of these teams 2 maps away from the World Championship. There is no more bracket reset. This is it. This is all there is. The winner of this match takes it all, and there is so much pressure on both of these teams. South Korea, I think we're going to have to see the Hard Rock 1 this time around, and they're going to need Allegrissimo to pop off yet again. This is the time to take your picks very seriously. This is the time to take things slowly, really put a lot of thought into your picks, and it actually looks like they don't need to pick before their timeout, so we're going to get the timeout first. And because it is South Korea's pick, they're going to have the whole timeout to discuss their pick. Although I really do expect that that is just going to be the Hard Rock 1 Lunate Elf.
We'll see if it's the Hard Rock 1. They did win that pick against the USA in the first bout, but with how with how much those results have changed from match to match, I don't even know if a 400k win in the first bout of Grand Finals is actually good for South Korea here. The hidden one is still up. I do think that they have good players for something like that. Hidden streams, especially at this BPM, is something that they are pretty good on. And there it is. It's going to be the hidden one. I think the one map you're not going to pick into USA is that free mod 3. They've had such success on the free mod pool. If they win this, they secure tiebreaker at the very least and match point on the USA's pick. If they lose this, USA is at match point with next pick. South Korea need this one to work out to potentially win their first World Cup in 10 years and put a stop to the longest standing streak of dominance we have ever seen. He's only 300 combo against a 100,000 plus score lead for South Korea. I dare say it, this is gonna be the point for South Korea. Can they hold on just a little bit longer? Takedo might just be able to bring this back at the end of the map. FlyingTuna is missing as well. It's 50k for the United States now to bring back. Takedo is still going. Can he hold? No, he cannot. He finds the chain miss.
They've done it.
Worst
they have to have done it.
Worst HR player is an absolute demon, puts up the score when it matters, and with that miss from Takedo, that is going to be a point for South Korea, and they are 1 point away from being the world champions for the first time in 10 years. 1 point is all that stands between them and victory. And all that's left in this map is the slow outro as South Korea.
Oh,
Let it sink in. You guys are so close. They can feel victory on their fingertips. The United States have the next pick, but there are no easy picks for the US. South Korea, they don't need to let it go to tiebreaker. They can take this on the United States next pick if they play well. Dio, what is this pick from the United States? What do they look to at least get themselves a tiebreaker?
There's only so many maps left right now, iFlame. That was a super close one near the end there, but pop-off score from worst HR player barely did enough to hold them strong through the rest of the map. We've got DT1 still available. We've got Free Mod 3 still available. Hard Rock 1 is up, but USA lost that last time around. I don't think they are going to want to pick into that. It's No Mod 1, DT1, Free Mod 3 left up for the United States to pick here. My money's on DT1, but I can see them wanting to pick into that Free Mod 3. They have had massive success on the Free Mod pool all weekend, both against South Korea and against Australia. So if you're going with consistency, that free mod pool is in their favor. They've won that map twice out of the 2 times it has been played so far. But if you're going by the BPM theory, if you're trying to speed cap South Korea, then DT1 calls your name. 280 plus BPM on that DT1, and it does have some bursts in it. This is not a map where you can just alt all of the jumps and be comfortable, so you need a little bit of that speed to hold on to the combo in that map. It's, I think, between those 2 maps, and it is going to be that free mod pick. Free mod 3, R176 by Cranky. It's the anti-mod free mod pick as the last shout for the United States. They win this one, they tie us up, and we go to Vanitas. They lose this, and they lose their first World Cup since 2017.
CS5. AR8, this is so heavy on the rhythmic patterns, the aim control. There are some really brutal linear patterns, the zigzags that you have to watch out for. This map is no joke. It is going to claim a lot of combos, and last time around, it was a 250,000 point win for the United States off the back of Rectigon and Taquito, the hidden and hard rock players for the United States. We did see an overmod from South Korea with Allegrissimo and Karcher taking hard rock, neither of them feeling comfortable on that AR8 no mod, but I wonder if we see them switch it up this time around because this map is so tricky, especially those wiggle zigzag patterns. They're so tricky with the precision hard rock that I'd almost like to see South Korea drop off one of those hard rocks, but it's really going to depend if Allegrissimo feels like they can play the AR8 no mod on this map, and just might not be the case.
We'll see if they can put up some of the same scores they had last time around for the United States. We had some really, really tough scores on this map from both teams. This was the first pick for South Korea in the first bout of Grand Finals. Recting on 600k on Hard Rock. Hidden 585k for Taquito, and they end up winning that pick against South Korea by 260k. This is the throwback for the United States. It'll be both the first pick and the last pick in Grand Finals for this map. What a way to end off the match the same way it started. But this time around, it's for the United States. They're looking to replicate their success from the very first pick in this match. If they can do it again, they will be legendary in the World Cups and bring us to an organic bracket reset tiebreaker. If South Korea can do it, they will become legends themselves and end a 5-year streak of consecutive wins for the United States. It's time. Boshiman, Taquito, Vaxei, Rectigon for the United States. Karcher, FlyingTuna, Allegrissimo, and worst HR player for South Korea. Double hard rock this time around for the US. Vaxei on that hard rock for the United States, coming in for Fire Rage, who took no mod last time around for them. Same roster, same mods for South Korea. Looking to high roll this time around. Awkward aim abounds. Streams that double back on themselves all throughout the map, and there's so many easy places to break on a map like this. Early miss for Rectigon, worst HR player, and Karcher at the start here. Vaxei also breaking right near the start of the map. There goes FlyingTuna now, one of the full combos down for South Korea. It's Allegrisimo and Boshiman holding onto these FCs. Hard Rock full combo for Allegrisimo, Nomad FC for Boshiman. This aim on Hard Rock is massive. This is 7 stars Nomad. With Hard Rock, this map comes close to 8 stars just off the aim alone. And that is a huge star rating buff, but it is still advantage United States. Vaxei missing there on the Hard Rock is going to give combo advantage to South Korea, but it's traded. Erecting on Karcher, worst HR player, all dropping. FlyingTuna dropping as well. And now suddenly it's looking very good for the United States.
Big fall apart here from South Korea. So many combos are going down. It's only Allegrisimo on the Hard Rock to try and bring something alive. Boshiman, though, is going to contest him, and Allegrisimo falls. The rest of the United States are going to be able to build and build equally to the rest of South Korea. Boshiman is the last outlying combo for the USA. And as the break is shown, Boshi knows what he has to do. He's the last combo alive, last combo standing to give the US the established lead that they need. Karcher and Allegrisimo go down alongside FlyingTuna. Right to go into Kiro also go down. Boshiman will finally drop. But towards the end of this map, ladies and gentlemen, this could be it for the South Korea on this pick for the USA. It could be the final map to decide it all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Vanitas. Tiebreaker is happening.
Boshiman will not let it end that easily. The gimmick specialist shows up big time for the United States of America. And now we get Vanitas. This map is something special. It is 5 minutes and 53 seconds of absolutely brutal aim patterns, stream patterns, you name it. We saw this showcased in the United States, Australia mats, and there were some rough scores all around. This map is incredibly, incredibly difficult, and you're going to look towards those key players for both teams. It's going to be Rectigon, Vaxei for United States. It's going to be worst HR player along with Karcher for South Korea. Any one of these players could put up a big score, and if you do well enough, you could solo carry this map. Dio, talk to me about this tiebreaker. What are we watching out for? What are the expectations going into this one for both teams here?
This is one of the most unique tiebreakers that the World Cup has seen in Grand Finals in recent years, with the rise of OS original songs for tiebreakers. We've seen lots of different quote-unquote rhythm game songs with tons of different skill sets represented through the song. Tech, stream, speed, alt, you name it, it's in the tiebreaker, right? This one is far more mechanics focused. 220 BPM pretty much all throughout. Aim and streams the primary difficulty focus of this map, and we do have some alt sections, some aim sections in the middle as well, where you can have big combo breaks. If you've been comboing to that point, you're starting to shake. You are going to break on some of the gigantic half-screen triples in the middle of the map, some of the ridiculous 1/3 that make their way about 2/3 of the way into this pick as well. It is so hard to get a high score on this because max combo is nearly 3,500 on this pick. You can get 2,000 combo and still score below 500k on a pick like this. And that, for me, screams team consistency. If you can get a team together who are all really solid on this type of thing, they're going to perform pretty well. You're going to see lots of 300-400k scores. That is the type of score and type of team score that can win you a map like this. So I think this is a really good test of overall team consistency. It's not about the solo carries on this map for the most part. It's about how good you are as a team, what kind of 4-person roster you can put together for a map like this.
2 minutes remaining until we get into this tiebreaker, folks. Go get your popcorn. This is such a good song and yet another Osu original, and it is such a banger. We could not have asked for a better match to end off the World Cup, and we'll soon find out whether South Korea can finally topple the Titans, the Giants in the United States, or if South Korea can make a great return after 10 years to that first place podium spot in the Osu World Cup. Let's talk about rosters here. Without a doubt, we are going to be seeing Recti, Vaxei, along with Karcher and worst HR player. But who are the fill players for both teams? For South Korea, I have to imagine we're going to see FlyingTuna in for this. And in my opinion, I think the best bet here is Allegrissimo. Allegrissimo has looked incredible, has shown that potential and those big pop-off moments earlier on, especially on the Hard Rock, and that's what you need this time around. You need the consistency as well as the ability to pop off, put up big combo. And we'll see. Spectre, Restia, they're going to get their time in the spotlight. I don't think either of them will be playing. Parisha as well. Everybody's getting into the lobby for South Korea, saying hello to the stream. On the side of United States, I think we are waiting on, of course, Rectigon into the lobby. Is this so speedy that we don't see Taquito? I do expect one of Window Life or Wuchi to sub out in favor of Taquito. I don't know if I can see a world where Taquito doesn't play this map. What do you think, Dio?
I think this is going to be the roster for both teams. Taquito is not a stream stamina player. This is not the type of map that you would usually see him in for. And I think this roster for the United States is locked. Window Life Wuchi, 2 rookies for the United States in on the tiebreaker in bracket reset. This is a best of 1. It's for all the marbles. Release Hallucination said it best. Great match. Good luck to both teams. Let's see the grand finals tiebreaker bracket reset. Whoever wins here wins the OS World Cup and are crowned OSU champions.
16 players, 2 teams, and 1 world champion. 6 minutes and 43 seconds to the decider. I'll let you take it away, Shiba. Here we go into Vanitas.
Ladies and gentlemen, emerging through countless battles all over the world, witnessing magnificent upsets, shattering records. One final chapter in the history books. One last map. It all comes down to Vanitas. Ridiculous levels of mechanics and consistency. Custom song by Release Hallucination. One of a breakaway tiebreaker in this World Cup. It all comes down to this. On the side of the United States, Window Life, Wuchi, Vaxei, and Rexagon. On the side of South Korea, Restia, Karcher, Parisia, and FlyingTuna. Early starts past this intro section is hit by the majority, but Wuchi and Parisia alongside Restia are the ones to go down past this intro section. So far, so good on the side of the United States, 3 FCs to 2. Parisia goes down once again past that stream section, but it's looking good on the side of the United States. This map has plenty of sections here that could go in favor of both players. These streams can get really tested here, can get really tough. First stamina stream section come through, no drops from either player. Karcher is going to go down afterwards, and it's joined by FlyingTuna. 4 combos dropped here from South Korea. A fall apart through this build-up section. Rectagon is going to drop as well. Vaxei and Window Life, the only one to drop by this next KI.
That's Window Life and Vaxei holding strong for the United States right now. This is the trouble for South Korea. Can they bring a mechanics tiebreaker against the United States? They have had trouble on mechanics picks all match long, but there go Window Life and Vaxei. That's the 2 full combos gone for the United States. Now Karcher, unfortunately, the biggest combo for South Korea, not able to hold here. It's Rectagon with a little bit of combo for the United States to keep this score lead intact for them. This is what the United States needed in this tiebreaker, is their mechanics carry players to come out and pop off, and that is exactly what they're doing. South Korea not able to find the big combos that the United States has had in this first quarter of the map so far. Wuchi's going to find another miss alongside Parisia, but the big story here is this combo on Rectagon. Restia as well dropping now. It feels like it's all on Karcher, FlyingTuna, the 2 veteran members of South Korea. FlyingTuna in particular, somebody who's been with this team for years and years, will finally drop the combo. It's Karcher now, the only combo for South Korea against Window Life. Vaxei dropping now. Window Life dropping as well.
Karcher, last man standing here for South Korea with the big combo. Going into this next HI, jumps get really tough here. Cross screen there is hit from Karcher. He's got to hold on to this to try and bring something back for South Korea. 76,000 is quite the deficit on a tiebreaker like this. So many players go down, including Karcher. Big combo from South Korea is gone. Vaxei, the biggest combo in the lobby, also falls. And we're getting into the control quarter. No player hits through this full KI. And we're getting into the 1/3 now. Arguably probably a section that's more in favor of South Korea. This section has a lot of wiggles, a lot of 1/3. You got to really keep yourself precise and in control of these patterns. Really, really devious here. So many drops from so many players. Only Window Life, Rexagon, Karcher, and FlyingTuna to have hit most of it. 2-2 in the major recovery combos, but overall the United States still looking good. Jump sections to come through as well. The United States are slowly gaining on this section.
This is where it all comes down to the aim. Parisia is going to drop. It's still the United States with that advantage now, supporting scores in their favor. There goes Karcher, Restia, Woodchi, Window Life, all dropping in short order. It's FlyingTuna and Requiem with big combos for either team. Requiem drops as well now. It's Vaxei and FlyingTuna with combos. Vaxei dropping now as well. It's FlyingTuna alone right now, but there he goes as well. And this is what I was saying about this tiebreaker before we started off. This map so difficult. The mechanics test so consistent on this kind of map that the pop-off scores just matter so little on a pick like this. It's all about the team consistency, and triple 200k 2/3 of the way through right now for the United States versus just one score above that margin in Karcher for South Korea. If anyone can do it, it is this man, the first full combo on Dokito's Yomiuri, a legendary tournament player from last year. Karcher, can he find a big combo? Can he find it in him to pop off and carry Korea to their first win in 10 years? It's not looking super likely at the moment. You have big combos on Woodchi, Window Life, and Vaxei right now. Rectagon as well on a pretty big combo there, and there goes Karcher. The one big combo for Korea is down, and all of USA is hitting this stream section. All of USA is hitting the 1/3. All of USA is hitting the jumps, and the United States will not be held back. The United States cannot be beaten. The juggernaut of the World Cups for 8 years, 7 of the last 8 World Cups in their favor have gone to the United States, and this one as well. Despite it all, despite quarterfinals losers bracket, it seems like you cannot stop the best team in OS standard history.
We're approaching the final key eye of this tiebreaker. Vaxei, one of the greatest tournament players to ever live, holding on to nearly 1,000 combo, going towards the final end of this. It is the beginning of the end for the South Korean gifted story. The beauty of this storyline will soon come to an end. The final scratches of ink are starting to come through, and the United States are pushing their lead to a degree of impossibility. Finally, the United States get the security that they need. No matter what doubts you put through for the US, no matter the roster changes, no matter the doubts, the USA will prove that they are inevitable. Doubters, be silenced. Believers, be vindicated. The United States are your 2023 OSU World Cup champions.
And the more things change, the more they stay the same for the 6th time in a row. Back to back to back. 3 times over, the USA have done it again.
This is the United States people expect to see in the grand finals. A story we have repeated throughout the World Cup is that the United States is one of 2 or 3 teams that builds their entire roster around the expectation of getting to grand finals, and in their case, the expectation of winning the tournament. That is what this roster is built around, and this is the reason why the United States is inevitable. This is the reason why they are your 6-time back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back world champions. The United States, 5 roster swaps from last year, multiple rookies on the roster this year in Kama, Window Life, and Woodchi. All the expectations around this roster was that this was the weakest USA roster we've seen in recent memory, and it still does not matter. The United States are your champions. They defeat South Korea in tiebreaker, in bracket reset. And they cement themselves once again in history as the team to beat, as the single best country in OS Standard.
The USA dynasty continues for a 6th year. So many doubts with this roster at the start of the year, from falling to Canada 6-1 in the quarterfinals to prevailing against all odds. The USA dynasty continues. The fortress remains stone still and untouched. USA win their World Cup for the 6th time in a row. South Korea has been the closest that they have ever been to triumphing and defeating the dynasty that is the United States. But it will not be today. Today is the day that USA prevail once again.
South Korea, they were so close, but unfortunately not enough. And as we come to the end of the World Cup, I do want to give a huge thanks to all of the staff here at the World Cup. There is so much going on behind the scenes, from all the mappers to the refs to the streamers to the tournament organizers, to keep things running smoothly for you, all the viewers and the players. And on top of that, I want to give a massive thank you to everybody who has joined us, showed up to watch these matches, supported your favorite teams, cheered in the chat, and made things so exciting. This has been truly one of the greatest World Cups in OWC history, and can't wait to see how future ones turn out.
This has been the most exciting World Cup in a very long time. It has been a very, very long time before we have seen the United States be pushed this hard in grand finals. My mind goes back to 2018 when the United Kingdom was able to take the United States to bracket reset. Here in tiebreakers, South Korea putting up the fight of a lifetime with this roster. But ultimately, as you said, iFlame, the more things change, the more things stay the same. As you said, Shiba, the United States are inevitable. They will be your winners. They will be your OS World Cup champions. Takedo, Rectagon, Window Life, Woodchi, Vaxei, Kama, Fire Rage, and Boshiman. Congratulations to your 2023 OS champions. And of course, massive congratulations as well are in order for the 2nd and 3rd place teams joining them on the podium. What a fantastic grand finals and what a fantastic tournament from South Korea. FlyingTuna, Karcher, Worst HR Player, Restia, Amamya Kokoro, Allegrissimo, Spectre, and Parisia, your runner-ups for the World Cup in 2023. And in 3rd place, with their first ever podium finish, it is Australia. Dumi, Emrek, A Secret Box, AKNZX or CS2, Sayo, JGLF, O/, and Zintex. Congratulations on a historic World Cup for Australia and a historic World Cup for us all. What a fantastic tournament we've had this year. This is one for the history books.
The 2023 OSU World Cup will 100% be written in the stones of history as one of the most thrilling, exciting,
run for the ages, and taking the giant in Goliath team of the United States to tiebreaker and bracket reset. It was truly a run for the ages. They are rewarded with a well-deserved 2nd place. And of course, congratulations to your OS champion, the United States. From everyone here at the OS World Cup, from everyone here at the OS team, thank you all very much for watching. Congratulations to every team with their fantastic placements this year. We'll see you all next year for the 2024 OS World Cup.
See you next time.
See you next time.